the 9th, 2009. It is now 5 p.m. As we do all meetings, we will start with an invocation. I'd like to ask Marta Salazar to, what? Galarza, I'm sorry. I don't know why I was thinking about the JP situation, I'm sorry. Marta Galarza, lead us in an invocation, formerly known as Marta Salazar, and then Robert Lopez to lead us in the pledges of allegiance.
Dear Lord, we come before you one more time, as we do every 2 weeks. We ask that you continue to be with us, that you guide all of us, and continue to protect us and all of our loved ones. We ask you to help us join our communities and our relationships, that we may become stronger focused in you and your good works that you have done for us, O Lord. We thank you for all of the blessings that you have that you have sent our way. We ask that you continue to guide us and be with us each and every day of our lives. Pray in your name, amen.
Robert.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you both. Before we go into executive session, there's an item that I've been asked to pull out so they can open the bids. It's item 5X, consideration and authorization to open the following bids, RFPs, RFQs. For A, consultant for redistricting plan, Cameron County, RFQ number 090601. Item B, vitals and court records, RFP number 090504. And fuel, gasoline and diesel, annual bid number 2280-1. Do I hear a motion to authorize?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tamayo to discuss the following 7 items. Item A, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 21 for right-of-way for FM 732 pursuant to Code Section 551.072. Item B, deliberation regarding real property concerning the possible sale of Cameron County-owned properties to the U.S. Department of Army, known as track number RGV-HRL-4000, located in the Concepcion de Caricitos Grant, Cameron County, Texas, said 1.104-acre tract, pursuant to Code Section 551.072. Item C, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Marta Lozano versus Cameron County, Texas, Board of Judges of Cameron County, Texas, Cameron County Auditor Marta Galarza, and Robert A. Almond II in the 444th District Court, cause number 2009-06-3750-H, for authority to represent Marta Galarza individually and as County Auditor pursuant to Code Section 551.0711 and A. Item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning status of the project agreement dated 7th day of August 2001, with amendments and service agreement dated 16th day of January 2002, with amendments concerning the countywide addressing project GIS pursuant to Code Section 551.0712. Item E, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contract issues with NB Development, Inc., pursuant to Code Section 551.0712. Item F, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contract between Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services and Texas Department of State Health Services for the Community Preparedness Section Bioterrorism Discretionary Fund Projects, Phase 2, as allowed by the Texas Government Code 418.183F. Last item, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contract between Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services and Texas Department of State Health Services for the Community Preparedness Section Bioterrorism Discretionary Fund Projects, Phase 2, allowed by Government Code Section 418.183. Are those the same thing? Are those the same thing? They're identical.
I'm sorry.
On the two executives, the last two?
Yes.
Two different ones, okay. 418.183-F, and we shall be back. Out of executive session. Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item A, deliberation on real property concerning acquisition of parcel 21 for right-of-way for 732. Do I hear a motion to acquire that parcel for $187,500?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item B, regarding real property concerning the possible sale of Cameron County-owned properties to the U.S. Department of Army. Do I hear a motion to table?
Move to table.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item C.
Is there an echo in here? No?
How's that?
Like a sound system echo of some sort, or buzz, or, no?
Do you have a cold? Your hearing?
My ear, okay, never mind. Never mind.
Okay. Item C, confer with committee, yeah, there is an echo.
I thought there was something in it.
Confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Martha Lozano versus Cameron County, Texas, and others. Do I hear a motion to authorize the representation of Martha Galarza in her individual capacity?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood and her
And
official
official
capacity. Individual and?
And official.
Correct.
Yes.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning the status of the project agreement dated 7th day of August 2001. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge report of counsel? And Mr. Pete Sepulveda. Did you do something on that, Pete? I think you did, right? On item D? Okay. Acknowledge the report of Mr. Sepulveda and Mr. Burst.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item E, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contract issues with NB Development, Inc. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge a report from Mr. Sepulveda and proceed along the terms and conditions as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by
Second.
Commissioner Gatsa. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item F, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contract between Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services and others. Do I hear a motion to approve the contract as presented?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item G, do I hear a motion to table?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Wood. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Public comments. Anybody sign up for public comments?
Judge, if nobody did, I would like to make a comment. In the past week or two, we've been receiving complaints about a lot of trash on both beaches, Boca Chica Beach and Isla Blanca, and of course the northern part of the island. I just thought I would run some numbers by you all. During this, from July the 3rd to the 5th, we had a total of 8,207 cars visit the island. This does not include Boca Chica Beach. And if we figure approximately 3 persons per vehicle, that would put approximately 24,621 persons on the island. I don't know if it's because we don't have the presence of our park rangers and our code enforcement officers. For some reason, people are not picking up after themselves. The other thing that we are having to address is the fact that we have a lot of beer bottles left on the beach. And I would like to reach out to the public that uses our beaches to please be pick up after themselves. We don't have the personnel we used to have before, and so the constable is going there, but it's not all the time. And so we had park rangers and we had the code enforcement officers. And so I think that helped to deter litter on the beach. But as I say, I'm reaching out to the public. Please be aware that, I mean, we just can't keep up with it. Our Parks Department is having problems just trying to pick up all this trash. I went car to car to car this morning on South Padre Island, and then I went to Boca Chica Beach, and I asked everybody to please pick up after themselves. I'm hoping that maybe if we go out there on a daily basis, that people will be a little bit more aware of what they're doing to our public beaches. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We did coordinate I don't know if you can do this, but, no, we can't do that, right?
No, you can't.
Because we did coordinate, well, let me just talk to, I'll talk to Tony back there. We did coordinate an effort regarding the trash pickup on July the 6th. Is that correct? Just nod your head, yeah. Where we had inmates, prisoners at work, do that. Prior to that, I think we had also, and I agree with you. I mean, I was out there a couple of weeks ago, and it is a mess. But I think we need to place an agenda item on to address it at the next meeting. Javier, let us know what you're doing out there, because I know we've been emailing back and forth pretty much the last 3 weeks about code enforcement, law enforcement, the bottles that they're all over the place, and have the constable come in. When I was out there, there was a presence of the constable, quite a bit, up and down. But what they tell me is that they cannot cite anybody unless they see them actually disposing of the trash, or they actually see it doing. They can't cite anybody for that. But that's a good point. I think that we need to address it, and just at the next meeting, Javier, go ahead and place an item on the agenda to talk about it as far as what you're doing. I did talk to the constable, and he tells me he's out there, but go ahead and let him know to come in as well. Let us know what they're doing.
And Judge, I was out, I met with the constable, I met with Justice of the Peace Ochoa, and I asked Judge Ochoa what he could do, like when they actually do cite somebody. Can you mandate that instead of paying a fine, they actually go out there and make them pick up the trash? But he said legally they cannot do that. They have to give the person an option. And so, you know, I know that Mr. Zamora is trying to cooperate, but he's got a large area also that he needs to cover. And he's done a good job in the Laguna, is it Laguna Heights area?
Laguna Heights.
Yes, he really
Except for
has
the
done that.
illegal dumping in the alleys.
I got that call today, too.
It's
Let's go ahead
everywhere.
and I
everywhere.
appreciate, let's not get too far into it, then Javier have nothing to present next time. Javier, next time, an agenda item to talk about it, and have the constable come in as well, okay? Thank you. Any other public comments?
If you need any pictures, let me know.
All right. Presentations and resolutions. Presentation by the Texas Border Coalition.
Judge, Commissioners, we had a request from the Texas Border Coalition to come and make a presentation. With us today is Mr. Moore. He's going to make a presentation, talk about some of the things the Texas Border Coalition has been doing.
How you doing again?
Hi. Judge, Commissioners, I'm Billy Moore. I represent the Texas Border Coalition, and I appreciate the time on your agenda this evening. I will be brief. I want to compliment you on your technology, but I do have, maybe it was where I was sitting, one complaint about the big screen. It made my bald spot really large.
No, it is large.
That's true. The Texas Border Coalition represents interests common to the U.S.-Mexico border from Brownsville to El Paso. We educate and advocate on behalf of a member-directed agenda. I've shared some materials here with you. Our agenda is focused on education, transportation, healthcare, border security, trade, and ports of entry. I'm a partner in DeNovo. DeNovo has represented the Texas Border Coalition in Washington for 2 years, in Austin for the past 6 months, and we have taken over management of the coalition in the last 6 months. We work with the Valley delegation, the border delegations, in Austin. We work with the Texas delegation in Washington to try to expand into other parts of the country and educate people on the interests and the agenda that's important to the border region. We are probably best known, and in some instances only known, for the work that we've done in terms of the border fence. And part of what I want to report to you today is the other items that we focus our attention on. I don't want to minimize what we do on the border fence. Right now, this afternoon I was on the phone trying to deal with two amendments in the U.S. Senate to a Department of Homeland Security appropriations bill. One that would add 330 new miles of border fencing, and another that would require all the new miles and the existing miles to be double layered, where we have one layer now. It would require working with the House mainly to try to make sure that we get ourselves protected in conference. I know what we do there has been controversial. It was directed by our membership, and we continue today trying to minimize the impact that it's having. We got $50 million in mitigation for the impact of it in this year's appropriations bill, and have got $40 million approved for next year. That money will be allocated here in the next few months, and a great deal of it will end up in Hidalgo and Camry County because the Department of Interior has decided that dealing with endangered species is their first priority, and the endangered species impact has been here. It's been mainly on cats, jaguarundi, and they will announce in the next few weeks the allocation of money to acquire more land for habitat and for a cat pad. That's the sort of thing that we have done that doesn't get a lot of attention. It's also the sort of thing that if the Texas Border Coalition wasn't doing it, it wouldn't happen. Other things that we do, we're involved in the NAD Bank expansion. The NAD Bank, I think most of it's acknowledged now, is hobbled by its oversight and the legislation in which it operates. We're working to get legislation introduced before the end of July in the House and Senate to try to free it to be able to deal with more types of financing of development other than simply environmental protection. We're working with the U.S. Trade Representative Ron Kirk, who's from Dallas, on the administration's agenda to change the NAFTA side agreements, first to try to protect the interests of trade across the U.S.-Mexican border, and also to try to use that vehicle, perhaps in pursuit of expansion of the NAD Bank. That may be the vehicle by which we get that bill enacted, we hope. We intend on convening in September a meeting of the ports of entry interests from the legislature in Austin, the U.S. Congress, the bridge directors, U.S. CBP, and the U.S. GSA. We have a substantial problem in operation of the bridges right now because we have been able to obtain funding for technology which is being implemented, where we have been able to obtain funding for the construction of infrastructure. We have a vast allocation of personnel to the bridges. A GAO report a year and a half ago pegged that number at 4,000 below what we need for the operation of the bridges. When we get more people for them, we have, and we've gotten about 1,300 new slots allocated in the current fiscal year. The infighting that goes on among our Texas border bridges makes it more difficult for us to be able to obtain more. And we believe that it's important to try to speak with one voice, first in Texas and then working with the Border Trade Alliance across the southern border and the northern border to build a coalition in the next appropriations round to be able to begin the process of improving the staffing of CBP officers on the bridges by 4,000 over the next couple of years. We're working, we've just completed a partnership with the Rio Grande Institute, which I think some of you are familiar with in terms of the work that they are doing on hazard mitigation. They have gotten a hazard mitigation plan approved, both in Austin and Washington. It includes a number of projects that would be focused on Cameron County. We have to execute through legislation that plan and then get it funded. We're working with Bill Skeen and Ty Fane with RGI to get that on the agenda beginning at the end of this year. And in Austin, some of the things that are detailed in the PowerPoint that you have there are accomplishments that would have not have occurred if it weren't for TBC. We got enacted an extremely helpful adult basic education reform that will be very helpful to all of the border communities because it focuses resources away from big cities and into other places where our workforce needs are huge. We also worked with border communities to help direct transportation stimulus money to our areas. We enacted a nurse education bill. We're also very active on immigration reform. In Austin, we led a coalition that helped kill, for the second session in a row, all of the anti-nativist or the nativist legislation that would have imposed pretty severe restrictions on businesses, including licensure, and are working in coalition with a number of interests in Washington to try and get the right kind of immigration reform enacted, hopefully, this year. I'm open to your questions if you have any.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore, I think that we all realize in today's world, and probably we should have been doing it a long time ago, that partnerships and working together is really the only way to address issues in Austin and Washington, and y'all certainly provide the opportunity and the vehicle to be able to do that. And you know, looking at your membership, it's certainly evident that you work that way, and everyone along the border of Texas works that way with you. So I appreciate the work y'all have done in the past and continue to do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me give you one example of that. I mean, I'm here, and the Senate's debating this Homeland Security bill and amendments that would be harmful, I think, to border communities across the southern border. Because of the coalitions that we've built with environmental groups, anti-government waste groups, national defense groups, they were the ones leading the charge today while I'm in Brownsville to try and defeat the double fence amendment. Hopefully, we'll be able to get that done this evening when the Senate votes. But it's the coalition that gives us our strength. If it was just the border communities speaking for ourselves, I think we'd have a voice, but I'm not sure how well it'd be heard.
And I also want to congratulate you. I understand that your firm, Bianolo, has acquired the membership or partnership or something.
We have a
new partner of Ambassador Tony Garza.
Ambassador Tony Garza joined our firm last week.
Previously county judge, Secretary of State of Texas, railroad commissioner, ambassador.
And just a great fellow. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge with moved by Commissioner Tamayo, and by Commissioner Gatz? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Item B, presentation of the third quarter report for the International Bridge System.
Judge, Commissioners, you should have a copy of the report in front of you. This is the third quarter report for our bridge system, April, May, and June of this year. Again, the outcome is not what we wanted. We saw another decrease this quarter in our bridge crossings, our bridge revenues, and so basically that is a report. But specifically going into it, the Gateway Bridge, this quarter we had 932,000 vehicles cross. Crossings, not vehicles. Crossings, 421 autos and 500 pedestrians. Our decrease was 7% over this time frame from last year. In terms of revenues for the Gateway Bridge, we have almost 1.3 million.
David, on these numbers,
The passport initiative became effective in the 1st of June, right?
Yes.
Yeah. 30 days out of the 90 included the passport initiative.
Yeah, and in that regard, the word we heard and some of the reports that we got was that they were seeing almost 90%, I believe is what I read in the paper, of people that had their actual documentation complete and full. Right.
Yeah. 90% of the ones that crossed.
The ones that cross,
A
exactly.
lot of people didn't cross that normally would.
Yeah, because they just didn't want to hassle with
No hassle.
Coming back.
You know, I've had mine for my card for over a year, and I don't go across as much because I don't like to wait in line for 45 minutes, an hour to get back.
Right. So that was about a 15% drop in revenues over this quarter.
I think, at least for me, if you could segregate your data the next time you present to us and include, like, from the day the Western Hemisphere Initiative started, and see what kind of differences we would see compared to,
Previous months.
like, the...
For June of this year versus June 8.
And I think that kind of will snapshot that issue for us. If you could, that would be great.
Moving to a free trade bridge, again, we had 168,000 crossings. Our decrease was 7% in that time frame. Our revenues totaled 515,000 for an 11% decrease. The Veterans Bridge, this is where we saw a pretty significant decrease. 401,000 crossings, which was a 22% decrease. And our revenues were at 1.5 million, 23% decrease. And we go over to our tab where we show our variances. Under the bridge system tab, that'll show you what the county's portion for the 9 months that we've had we're doing so far, which is at 911,153. So there's not much more I can say, but hopefully we'll get better in the crossings this next year.
So what's the projected shortfall by the end of the fiscal year?
Yeah, about 1.2.
Okay, so
More or
coupled
less.
with the 1.1 of last year, right? And now 1.2, which what you're projecting out this year. That's a penny from the tax rate that we've lost. Okay, now, on the, and I know we're going to get to that in a little bit, but on the revenue projection that you have here, are you factoring into 1.2, or is it less than that? Because I know we're going to get into it, but right on this one, we're showing about a $4.1 million deficit. What number are you using in here?
Those figures will have to be adjusted. They are only showing a 10% reduction on
Right, so
revenues.
it's going to get to
So-
that 4.1, it's going to be 4.7.
Right, they will have to be adjusted.
Okay. Wowza.
Question?
Any questions? Do I hear a motion to acknowledge report? So moved. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item C, consideration approval of a resolution appointing members to the Census Committee. I know that some of you all have probably names ready to go.
I have my name ready
Okay,
to be voted
well,
on.
let's approve the resolution and then provide the names to Pete as soon as we can. So I hear a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Consent items. Pete, I want to ask you on the travel, in the future, for future agendas, break out the travel as a separate item in terms of Anything that is zero cost to the county or grant-related,
Yeah.
put that into the consent. And any travel items where we have to take action individually, put those as part of the action discussion, okay?
Judge, let me just clarify something. On the committee for the Census Committee, we don't have to document the names and vote on them, or we're going to do that later?
We could do that later when everybody has their names. If you want to do it now, we can.
I
but-
have mine.
I've got mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I have Maria Lourdes Sauceda, and the address is P.O. Box 181, Los Indios, and I have her cell number here for you.
Do you have one yet?
The person has not affirmed that
Okay.
he or she will serve.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes, I have Gloria Moreno, and I've got her contact information here on the sheet for you.
Commissioner Benavides?
I have Rosa Leticia Bedartes, and I'll forward the rest of the information to you, Pete.
All right. And that was part of the motion. And we'll get you some names as soon as ours comes.
No, we need one co-chair.
You'll appoint that.
Yeah, we'll appoint that, if you want.
Yeah. I think that was our motion at the last meeting. I know that we had, and I asked Dr. Zavaleta volunteer. So in the motion in our last meeting, we added him on as a co-chair.
Okay,
So there's another co-chair that you would appoint plus a member.
okay,
Pete,
all right.
here's the information.
All right.
That's her cell right there.
Consent items. Are there any items under consent that any member of the court wish to take out and discuss separately?
Including travel?
No, not travel,
Okay.
just consent.
A.
Item A? 5A, we'll take out.
5A, yes, sir.
Anything else? Javier, I just have a quick question on item U. Where's Javier? Oh, there you are. On the beach vending permit, that is a stationary mobile vendor?
Mobile?
Yeah, stationary? Because that day that I was out, one of our other vendors was moving. He was moving and kids were coming up and he was moving, he was not stationary. So you might want to remind him of what the lease agreement says.
Okay, we give the policy to each one of the beach vendors,
Okay,
and we also addressed it with the constable.
okay, just remind him, I know it's difficult, but just remind him. And this one, the same thing, right? Yes. Okay. Do I hear a
The
motion?
policy is that they're supposed to be there by a certain time, park in a designated
That's
area, stay there the hours that they're supposed to.
So I think they can meet every 30 minutes?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Designated times, though, yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll just follow up because they were not doing that. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve all consent items with the exception of 5A?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. 5A, consideration approval of work experience training agreement between Cameron County and Workforce Solutions, Cameron Surjobs Progress National, Inc.
Can I be told what the difference is from the other one?
Yes, Commissioner. The previous one that was approved, on the very first paragraph, it was awarded to UMOS, and this one is for SETA jobs. What the Workforce Solutions did, they awarded the contract to two subcontractors per se. One was UMOS and one was SETA. The contract that we had was with UMOS, and this one would approve for them to place.
SETA.
SETA, yes.
Okay, so that does that mean that we're utilizing both agreements for the job placements?
That's correct, both of them. In order to place, we ran into a little situation where Workforce was trying to place the students under the SETA contract, but we did not have a signed contract stating that it was SETA.
How many individuals are we looking at serving with the SETA contract?
We had, I believe we were going to originally place 15.
15. And under the other contract, the UMOS?
There was a numerous amount, I think it was over maybe 50?
I mean,
Don't quote me on
weren't
that.
the
I'm not-
numbers going to be significantly larger than that when we were initially talking to these
And it
folks?
was across the county.
Across the
was
county,
across
not in
county.
one location?
I thought it was between 600 and 800.
Originally, I think that was the entire program, and what was originally placed in the county, I'm not too sure on that exact figure, but it was countywide.
And it was quite disappointing because I know that we have a large scanning project that we had hoped that we could get some of these kids approved to come in and do.
Yes,
And
Commissioner.
at the last moment,
They're gone.
yes.
Well, a lot of
They're
folks
gone.
had made preparations and planning for
Correct.
the extra help, and then it just never materialized. And it was supposed to be like the second week of June.
That's correct, yeah.
And it's, I mean, I've yet to see one anywhere.
We'd made several contacts and, and made several calls to them, and I don't know what happened on their end of it, but that was one of the reasons I put this contract on the agenda for approval, is for possible future placement, so we won't run into any contractual issues, and I think Richard and I
Is
spoke
this
about
a
it.
summer program also?
Yes, it's the exact same thing as the previous contract. The only difference is that Workforce wasn't able to they placed all the students under UMOS, and they had the remaining few were going to be placed under the SETA program, and they couldn't do it because we didn't have an approved contract. But, so I figured for future, or for
They're
just,
talking about 15 kids more.
or possibly more, whatever the program should allow. We had originally wanted 15, and they were going to place them under this program, but that contract would stay in place for future placement or future training.
You know, I mean, I don't have a problem with supporting it, but I would like a report as to the numbers of placements we've had, maybe at the next meeting, just to get an idea of what kind of partnership we're developing here.
Absolutely,
What kind of success we're having.
sure, absolutely, okay.
You might want to contact the interim director and see if she can make a short presentation to us.
Absolutely, okay.
And I know I've had some of the students, as an example, there's one in my office here, and then there are several out at Cameron Park at Centro Cultural working.
I know I have 15 out at the Social Service Center that are helping with the summer program. And I have one here in my office also.
All right, okay.
Thank you, Judge
Do I
Commissioner.
hear a motion to approve?
Some of,
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Travel. Item 6A, 444 District Court Judge traveled to Dallas. Javier, I know Javier Villarreal is out. Did he get all the information regarding the continuing education for everybody? Do you know?
We're still working to get some of that information from the independent offices, and we're still, once we get the information from the offices, then we verify it with what the actual travel advances that we show on our records, so we are still working to get that together.
Okay, so what do we do in the interim, though?
Each travel here has been analyzed independently, and we have, I have some information on that I can.
Okay,
I can
we need
tell
to
you.
discuss each one of them.
On 6A, Judge Sanchez has advised that he has earned his credits. He does not need any hours, however, this is an advanced criminal law course. They do have travel monies in their budget for that.
Well,
I don't believe he is here to address it.
and we talked about that. Just because there's money in the budget doesn't mean you're going to spend it.
That's,
And what the court agreed to do at the last meeting was to approve continuing education if they needed it to meet their requirements, whatever that is. So why would we want to make an exception? I mean, we're either going to get serious about this, or we're just going to let everybody just approve travel like we've been doing in the past. So we're either going to do that, and if we start making exceptions, then we need to stand ready to make exceptions for everyone.
Judge, we made it real clear that it was only for continuing education.
That was needed.
That's correct.
Correct. Continuing education that was needed. If they already got their hours,
correct.
then it's not acceptable. And it wasn't a matter of whether they had money in the budget or not.
correct.
We're trying to.
You know, everyone's going to have to give a little here, and I think that if he wants to go to this course, he can go. It'll make him a better judge. It'll make him make decisions better and get him reelected if he runs. But But I think on something like that, if he's already met his educational requirements, then again, why would we consider it at this point?
I think there are going to be some instances come up to where travel is not for the particular course, may not provide any educational hours at all. However, it may be information that needs to be disseminated and acquired by our employees or our elected officials in order for them to be able to actually conduct their business and do their job.
That's correct, to keep up with particular updates that are coming in that they may need to
Laws
attend.
coming in effect. I know there's some laws coming in effect where some of the JPs are going to need to travel in order to know how to handle their courtroom.
That's correct. He did advise that he had fulfilled his credit requirements, so it is up to the court's discretion.
Well, if the court wants to change the position today, we can do that, but the position the last time was very, very clear. In terms of the JPs, I think we get to that one by one. I think the issue was, why was one JP going by himself, and others were going with 4 or 5 people? I think that was the question. So, you know, again, if y'all want to change what we passed the last time, then someone needs to make a motion to do that. But we're either going to get serious or we're not. So,
Well, I think that bridge report ought to make us a little serious,
Exactly, that's,
you know?
I think I
Maybe I
think we're
just
all
didn't-
aware of our situation with the budget, and we're going to have to start cutting wherever we can. And we did discuss this in length at the last meeting, and it was very clear that if they already had their hours, they can go, but they'd have to pay their way. And I stand by that.
Commissioner?
Yeah, and I think, at least in my opinion, or my thoughts of what I recall, we were talking about continuing education hours if they had them and they didn't need any additional. That's one issue. But there are other issues that are coming up where there's not even continuing education hours offered for the information that needs to be disseminated for them to be able to do their job. And that's a different issue, I think. It's something that if we want to look at individually, we look at individually and determine that. If we want to look at simply the ones that myself, I have continuing education hours, as all of us do up here, that we're required to get each year, a total of 16. And if I already had my 16, then I wouldn't be planning on going to the TAC annual conference in August. But I don't have my 16.
Right,
And
and
I've got
that
to
was
file them
the rule.
somewhere. But if
Well,
I already had
that's-
them, then I wouldn't be asking to go to TAC. But if it were something for me to be able to do my job, in the case, and I will use the JP court, in the case of them, they need to be informed on what the new laws are that have been enacted in order to be able to handle fines and assessments and how to handle their courtroom. They're not going to get any hours for that. There's no way they're going to get any hours for that because they don't offer hours for that, I don't believe. But they need to have that information. We have the fellow that works for Human Resources, John Frizzell, that needs to get more information about workers' comp and how to handle some of that so that that information can be disseminated and be worked on. There's no hours continuing education. So what I'm saying is segregate the continuing education hour needs. If you've got what you need for continuing education, fine, don't go anymore. But if there's other issues that you need to go travel for to get informed on and educated on, that's a separate issue. We may need to be looking at each of those individually and make the decision on those individually.
I thought we had done that. I thought we did that last week. You know, you can do a lot of things online. Everything is online. I mean, you can look at legislative updates online, and we made a decision that you also supported to do this. If they were, you know, if they met their education hours, then we weren't going to approve any additional hours.
Then, I'm not talking about approving additional hours, I'm talking
No,
about any
additional
other
travel.
education. So we're saying that the only travel that can be done that's paid for by the county, if it's paid for by someone else, it's okay, but if it's paid for the county, it's only going to be for continuing education hours?
That's what we voted on last time.
Required,
That's not
required education hours.
Well,
That's not what
now,
I understood.
I have a question. I looked at this, and I can understand, you can always get something out of conferences, if you go to the sessions and so on. But again, I didn't see where he specified or justified what part of this conference it was that he was interested in. He has a copy of everything that is going to be at that session, at that conference,
The agenda?
but he didn't specify specifically.
I don't believe it's marked as to which particular sessions he would be attending.
Well, I'll tell you, if we're not going to go with what we mentioned, we might as well not waste time going one by one.
That's exactly the point. I mean, we're starting to backtrack on stuff because we may have to make some difficult decisions,
If
but
we weren't having so much trouble with a budget, it'd be a different story.
But we're
But
going to go one by one, right?
Let me use this example then, to clarify. Emergency management. I don't think you get continuing education hours for attending emergency management seminars and training. However, that's something that's essential to the operation of the county when we have an emergency. So are we going to say they're not going to travel?
well, normally those expenses are not paid by us.
See,
Is
that's
that correct?
I mean, it's not the general fund budget, right?
Well, it is. Emergency management is.
Yes, it is.
Talking about the emergency conference and stuff like that, or are you talking?
Anything that you don't get continuing education
gonna
hours
take it
for
one by
is
one.
what they're talking about.
Well,
What they're saying is there's no travel unless you get continuing education hours, and if you've already got your number of hours, you don't travel anymore.
Well, I don't, I think it was a continuing education hours, but we went through, I know Renee was here where two people had traveled, instead of one, and they were at a mandatory meeting that was called in San Antonio or somewhere, and the meeting was not continuing education, but it was mandatory for continued funding for a very specific project that the DA's office has.
Well, that's not what I just
Okay.
now heard. I just now heard there's no travel except for continuing education hours.
We will take each one by one.
And that's what I'm saying. We need to take each one by one.
Yeah.
Well,
But I'm being told that's not what we agreed to last week.
what do you recall agreeing to?
If you had reached your continuing education hours, you don't travel any longer for continuing education hours.
Correct.
However, the others need to be taken and looked at on an individual
One by
basis
one.
on what the needs are in order for people to be able to do their job.
No one is going to put anything on the travel that they don't think that they need. No one's going to put something on there unless they believe that they need it. So we might as well just carte blanche, let everybody go. I mean, if they put it on, let's let them go.
No,
I think they need to
think-
come up before us and let us all discuss it,
Yeah.
and we decide one way or the other.
As an example, we have, I know I saw the extension office staff traveling, their time consists of traveling the meetings anywhere in the valley or up to Corpus or things of that sort, okay? So I would say we
They
take
could
each
probably
one of
operate
them.
without doing that. However,
Yes, that's part
On
of
item,
it.
on item G, he wanted that item tabled because it was incorrect the way he presented it.
Okay.
If you're talking about that one, because I talked
Well, I'm
about
talking about that one, but I know that they're on the agenda very regularly.
Like I said, we're either going to do something or we're not. And I know everyone's going to have a good reason to want to travel. I can't think of anyone that's going to say, well, I don't really need to, but I put it on there just to see if I could. Well, we did have one last week that was $4,000. But that's what I think is going to happen. And again, you want to take them one at a time. Like you mentioned your TAC deal, it hasn't even been approved for continuing education yet. But I would approve it.
annually it's approved for continuing
Well, maybe.
education. They just have not determined the number of hours they're going to approve it
Exactly,
for.
exactly.
I need 9.75 hours.
whatever it is.
It normally has 13.
Right, whatever it is, but as of today, it hasn't been approved, so we could do it subject to the approval, and that's fine, I got no problem, but, we're either gonna set the example or we're not, and that's all I'm saying, so, I'm gonna leave it up to you all, I've made my position clear, and if y'all don't wanna do this, that's fine. I'm not gonna argue about it, it is what it is, but come budget time, we got $4 million that we gotta find somewhere, and it's gonna be tough. I don't know how we're gonna do it until I start getting y'all's recommendations how we're gonna do it. But we got $4 million plus that we've gotta make up.
Well, and I think we should take each one individually.
All right, we all did 6A.
Okay, he has completed his hours.
He has advised that he has completed his hours.
Do we talk about B now, and then?
No, I think we need to approve it one at a time. I mean, we have to vote on each one of them one at a time.
So I move to deny A.
Okay.
Is that the motion that we need?
Yeah, we're going to do one at a time. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa to deny A for the reasons outlined above. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item B, Commissioner Precinct 2. And that's, on that one, I'm just going by what TAC has said, and if that's the same thing, it has not been approved yet, I would recommend that we approve it subject to TAC approving the hours. Once they do, then it's okay, but if
They normally do,
They
though.
normally
Yeah,
do,
they
but as of
usually do.
today, they have not.
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. That's a subject to one. Item C, Constable Precinct 4, staff 6 to travel to Corpus Christi, Texas on July the 28th to attend the 8-hour 2009 legislative update workshop. That's one of those where, you know, why can't we send one or two to come back and train the other guys to, you know, to do this?
Excuse me, Judge.
Yes.
C and D, is it a different?
Yes.
Okay, one is on the 28th, the other's on the 11th.
One's in San Antonio and one's in Corpus.
I do not have that information as to what hours they have fulfilled for their credits. Constable Precinct,
Right behind you, he can
there he
answer.
is.
Is this too
Okay.
close for
Good.
David, Robert?
Is it needed?
Judge, it is TCO's credit, and most of this, the whole tune is paid by the conference, by
Okay.
the TJTC.
Okay.
And registration, and they will also reimburse us for gas mileage.
Okay.
And the registration is paid out of our
So that's,
Leo's.
so that's basically a zero cost to us?
Right.
Is that
Except for
correct?
Leo's money, which the state controller
Okay,
sends us.
on both items are the same? See,
Nothing will
those,
cost the county anything.
like I said, on those, those will we break out separately, Pete. The ones that have zero cost or grant, we break them out so we can do it under consent.
they're using the reserve monies that they get
Okay.
every year for
But they're
training.
not general fund monies?
It is set up in general fund as a reserve, but it is not general fund monies. It's
Okay.
reserved and restricted
All right,
for
so
their
do I hear a
training.
motion on C and D? So moved. Moved by Commissioner
Second.
Gatsa, second by Commissioner Wood. Any
Thank you,
discussion?
Commissioner.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Item E, Elections Department staff 4 to travel to Austin, Texas on 8/17/8/19 to attend the 27th Annual Election Law Symposium. Roger?
Yes, sir. This is going to be paid by the state. This is all going to be
Do I
paid
hear
by
a
Chapter
motion to
19.
approve?
But it was, my request was for 5 people because it's a programmer that needs to go in there too for
Well,
voter
how
registration.
many are you paying for? Or let's say, how many is the general fund paying for?
None.
None. Okay, so it's a zero to the county, right?
Yes, sir.
Motion for approval.
That was moved by Commissioner, I think you moved that on that, right?
Yes.
But you wanted to read 5 instead of 4, Roger? Is that what it is? Yes. There's 5
There's
members.
5 on here, but 4 on the agenda item.
Oh, okay.
Should be 5.
Should be 5.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item F, Emergency Management Staff 1 to travel to Leander, Texas, 7/8/7/10 to tell all hazards incident management type team of incident commanders. Chuck, is that yours?
You get continuing education hours? Is it paid for by somebody else? These are the questions I guess we're asking.
That's right.
And it looks like they're
This
being
is being paid for by the Texas Forest Service.
Being
There's no
reimbursed.
expense to the county.
Move to approve.
Second.
I love this smooth sailing. Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Gatz. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries.
Can I clarify something on that? Are the meals and the fuel going to be paid for or reimbursed?
We asked for the advance, but that's going to be paid back.
Okay.
Reimbursed.
And the,
Fuel, that's out of our fuel budget.
Oh, that's out of the general fund budget then.
yes.
Yep.
That's not paid for by the state.
Well, if you want to vote against it, that's fine.
Well,
No problem.
let's make a decision.
But we're using the county credit card, they won't reimburse the county credit card.
Okay. So what are we talking about?
That's not one I'm opposed to, but that's what I'm hearing you're opposed to.
No, John, that's not what I'm opposed to. I think you just forgot what you
What you
voted on.
kept saying.
I think you just forgot how you voted last week. All right. Okay, on item G, I was asked to table that because that was submitted improperly. So I hear a motion to table item G.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by?
Second.
Gotz, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Item H, Health Department staff, one to travel to Austin, Texas on 7/13 to 7/15/09 to attend the Texas Association of Local WIC Directors July Board meeting.
That's the grant.
H and I are being paid by the grant.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve H and I? Second. By Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatz, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item J, Human Resources staff to travel to Corpus Christi, Texas on 6/13. Well, you already went. Is that you guys?
Yes. This is for, the first one is for workers' comp. There are updates, and there's no charge. It's a regional
All right.
workshop.
So there's no charge. Do I
Okay.
hear a motion to approve?
Except for meals and hotel, right?
But it should be July the 13th and 14th. It's got 6, 13, and 14.
All right.
And the other one is for the retirement program. They have one workshop a year, and so I'm sending the 2 people that do retirements for the staff, and they bring them the updates and all that, but, you know, and we have to pay for it, so.
Okay.
On K, you have,
Huh?
on K, the county has to pay for it?
Yeah.
What about J?
Jay, there's no charge on that up there, but we do pay for the employees to go.
On J, it's a cost of $243 to general fund, and on K, it's a cost of $873.
Okay, what do y'all want to do? Let's take J first.
You can't get that information on the internet?
No, this is regional done by TAC on our workers' comp.
I move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Gatz.
Which one, J or
J.
On item J. Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Gatz, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries. 6K, Human Resources staff, 2 to travel to Austin, Texas on 8/3 to 8/5 to attend Perspective 2009. That's a retirement issue.
Yes.
And why, you're not going to that?
No, I'm letting my 2 people go because, you know, it's just, I can get the information from them, you know. But
Okay.
maybe if you want to, we can probably communicate by phone or have them come down and do something for
Well,
us.
that's the kind of stuff we need to be looking at, that we ask, if either you can do it online, or they can come down, or send one person to come back and train everybody else. The point is not to, you know, and I know that getting some grief over here, but it's, and we talked about last week too, about that we're going to look at individual basis, and we did talk about continuing education, we did talk about those things. And that's the purpose of doing this, so we can scrutinize them. I mean, right off the bat, say, well, maybe they can come down, so right off the bat, say, well, maybe we don't have to go.
Well, it's just that they have, every year they have a statewide program on retirement, bring them updates, all the legislative, because it is a legislative governed program, retirement. So there's always issues coming up. So they bring it up, and that's what they do. But like I say, you know, if
Can one
it costs
go?
more money,
Well,
Does TCDRS have a representative that services our county for retirement?
yes, there is a
Do
representative.
they
That
come down
person should be-
occasionally?
Yeah, once a year, they come down.
but I think TAC is
But we normally do that for
very good
training,
about coming down.
for doing training to the employees. We have a retirement program to let them know how to plan for retirement, how to do this. And then we also bring Social Security to also help the employees guide them to retirement, how they can plan on that. We don't have continuing education for that. It's just, there isn't. It's just, we have a retirement plan
Well, I
and we
think
have a
maybe-
workers' comp program.
At some point, some of these organizations might decide that they want to do webinars instead of
It may be,
hotel
yeah.
seminars. And all you do, I constantly get on webinars at my place of business, and, you know, get there at 7 a.m., you do a 1-hour webinar, you get your updates, you get your, you know, things.
The information you need.
Yeah. Somehow.
Well, it's, like I say, it's up to you. We can work something out, I think, probably.
Or can you send one and come back?
Well, they're sharing
They're showing what?
the same room.
Okay.
See, but it's,
And
we'll
there's no-
work it out. I'm pretty sure I can work something out.
All right.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to table?
Well, do we table?
Is that what you want?
We just,
To table?
Or deny if you want to. He said he could work it out. Manuel, you said you could work it out where you don't have to go? And you get the rep to come down?
And see if they can come down and give us that information. Or at least send us whatever material they're going to be handing out.
Okay, all right. Do I hear a motion to deny?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatz, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item L, Justice of the Peace 2-1, judge and staff want to travel to Houston, Texas on 8/6/8709 to attend the legislative conference. Now, the next three are JPs, and I guess the question that came up was the inconsistencies in terms of one sending one, then one going with 4, then one going with 5. So who's going to take it up first?
On the continuing education hours, item L, I don't have the education hours completed. Item M has 20 hours earned already.
How many?
20, which is what's required, and item N has also earned 20 hours. L, M, and N. L, I do not have the information.
It's probably the same if I had to guess. Right. And I think that's what the question is. If we've already completed the hours, do we still need to keep going to these sessions? That's the question. Yeah, y'all can do it together if you'd like, because they're all the same issue, basically.
Just do all three?
Nothing personal, it's all
The
about...
issue is very vaguely the same,
all
but
about
the
money.
issue that we're missing here is that these continuing educations, like it was a legislative year, I sent you all a packet that included all the new laws that are coming to effect that are affecting all the JP courts. This is because it is a legislative year. The point that we're missing is this comes from our education fund. That fund can only be used for our
Okay,
offices.
so it's not general fund money?
No, sir. I discussed that with Ms. Galarza before I came over here today.
The issue is
And
general fund money.
the general-
If it's not general fund monies, then it's...
these funds come from our education reserve fund. It's called the Justice Court Education Fund that we collect like $1, $2 from each fine that we collect from our offices. This is where these monies come from. We're double backing. The Justice Court Training Center is picking up the hotel funds for that. The only hotel that I'll be requesting from this education fund is for myself. The meals are measly, and then on the mileage, it's $116, and they reimburse me $100. Everybody's traveling in my truck.
Okay.
You know?
That's why it's important to bring these out to clarify.
Right. But if you look, the packet that I sent you, it clearly states there's a lot of issues that legislation are going to impose on us this year, and we need to be up to par with all of that.
Well, it's a general fund that we're concerned about, Judge.
Right, this comes from our reserve educational fund.
All right.
That can be used only for that.
That's fine. I think what we've been talking about the last several weeks is that if it's going to affect the general fund, that's what we look at.
And that's understandable.
Okay.
I don't want to click into any of those $4 million that we're looking for.
All right.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a motion?
Link it to the money.
Do I hear a motion to approve item L, M, and N?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner
Second.
Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And thank you for clarifying it.
Thank you, no problem.
All right.
And I think that you need to have that clarified when you put the agenda item on for us.
Well, that's what the judge suggested, that we
Yeah.
have them divided.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you all. Item O, juvenile probation staff 1, Trial San Antonio, to attend the Texas LCP supervisor course.
Item O, P, and Q are grant funds.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve item O, P, and
Second.
Q by Commissioner Gatz, second by Commissioner Tamayo? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item R, Sheriff's Department staff to travel to Corpus to pick up military surplus. I think that's something they got to do.
They've got to do.
What are they picking up?
Motion for
Military
approval.
surplus, I don't know what it is.
Military surplus? What is military surplus?
Move to approve.
Second.
They're going to pick up equipment that has been
Well, they're going
given
up,
to them.
yeah. We're
The
not
cost
charging
is-
anything except for the meals.
The cost is $50 for the meals.
Yeah, okay, and that's fine. Do I hear a motion to approve by Commissioner Wood, second by? Second. Commissioner Gatz, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item A, budget amendments, line item transfers, and/or salary schedules.
Let me go get my list.
All right.
I passed out the budget amendments, and you should all have them there. Basically, they're all just to cover items that they need to get. The only one that I would call your attention to in particular, unless you choose to go over each one directly, is on page 3. There is a budget amendment for the jail, 100-5600. They are out of money in vehicle repairs, and they have 3 more months to continue to operate for this fiscal year. And the only place that they have money that they can move from right now is out of the fuel. So the budget amendment is reflecting a $20,000 decrease to fuel and moving $20,000 into vehicle repairs to cover the maintenance and operations of the vehicles.
Do I hear any more?
The others are just basic, like I said, basic operations. We've got also vehicle maintenance coming in for Fund 900 as well to cover repairs. There is a salary schedule for the DA's office out of 900-4750, and that is budget neutral as well.
Right. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Approval of county claims.
In the claims, I have warrants number 221694 through 221900, also number 221901 through 222165, warrants number 222169 through 222297, which are payroll-related claims. The last warrant voucher is warrants number 222298 through 222328. I would like to call to your attention, there are approximately 6 checks included in the batches that were just presented for approval, and 6 of those are for private civil process servers, and I have presented them to you for approval. Those total $3,060, and I'm sure you received your email that I sent out yesterday, and Richard he'd like to address that issue as well regarding these particular claims.
All right. Let's talk about it.
What stack were those on? Before you
I beg your pardon?
Which one was-
I did not run copies. They're in the actual warrants that were presented for payment, okay? I've got copies of the checks here.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we
That I
approve
read.
all the claims with the exception of those, and then we'll talk about those individually.
Okay, let me exclude warrants number 221853. That one is dated June 26th. The next warrant is number 222101. That's dated July the 2nd. Warrants number 221996, July the 2nd. Warrants number 222002, July the 2nd. Warrants number 221986, July the 2nd. Warrant number 221987, also dated July the 2nd. Those are the ones that need to be addressed separately.
Move to approve all of the other
Except-
that were presented except for those that Martha gave us.
I also have payroll claims, the actual payroll check register.
Yeah.
And that is payroll check dated July the 10th, and that is $1,659,908.12 for your approval.
To include the payroll.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? Please note my abstention on the affidavits that I've provided to you. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Okay, let's go to the ones that we're going to talk about.
Richard?
Commissioners, on June 22nd, the auditor sent me an email requesting, or expressing that we were paying certain claims for private process servers and asked me to look at it. And basically, as I understand it, and based on this understanding, under the claims were being paid out of funds that were approved by the Commissioner Court, or out of a budget approved by the Commissioner's Court for sheriff and constable's fees. there's a statute, it's the local government code 118.131, that authorizes the Commissioners Court to set sheriffs and constables' fees. The last time we did that was 2006, and so that sets our current fees until changed. The first item on there are the fees for citation for sheriff and constable service is $60. What has been happening apparently is not all of, but a minority of some of the JPs have been charging that fee and then submitting a bill to the auditor's office to pay private process servers. That fee those are county funds. Private process servers are by statute engaged by the party. In other words, it's no difference whether it's district court, county court, or JP court. You file a suit, you have an option. You can have the sheriff or constable serve it, you pay a $60 fee as set by the court. If you don't want to do that, the clerk gives you a certified copy of the citation and or petition, and it's up to you to obtain the service by hiring your own private process server. The point is, that isn't a county expense. That is a personal, individual expense, and you can't use county funds for that. And so,
But they're not county funds if they're being collected by the JP, are they?
yes, those funds. These are fees collected under authority of the commissioner, under fees set by the Commissioners Court, and they go into the general fund. I don't know how to describe the budget. They go into the general fund. Then once each month, those are transferred to there's a budget set up for the sheriff and for each constable, as I understand it, and once each month, those funds are transferred, all of the fees, not just those, are transferred to either the sheriff's budget or to the constable, and for their use and for serving the fees. And so those are county funds.
Evidently, they're not being serviced. Is that why these JPs are using this outside services?
I don't know why they're using a private process server. When the district and the county clerk collect this $60 fee for civil process service, and the monthly report that they submit to the treasurer's office and to our office, these revenues are credited to the office that is serving these citations, be it constables or be it the sheriff's department. The way that this revenue is coming in through the JP's office is the JP will report the money as a collection, and it gets credited in a reserve line item. Then the civil process server will initiate an invoice and send it to the individual judge, and then the judge approves it for payment. It gets sent to our office, and then we will pay the private civil process server against the reserve line item that's set up, so it should zero out.
So the people, these civil processors, are they county employees, or are they people just off the street with their own businesses?
We have in the checks that were just listed right now is not approved. There are 2 that are employees, that are county employees.
And so what's the difference? I mean, what are the other JPs doing?
I believe that they are using the constables.
I mean, why are we giving out the money if it should be staying within our general fund? Do you have any?
Unless those papers are not being processed and they need to get them done.
But if they're not, then shouldn't we bring those people that are supposed to be processing them before us and ask them why they're not doing it?
Well, Commissioners, my understanding, these aren't even being submitted to them, so you wouldn't know whether or not they're being processed. But the law is pretty clear on it. There is a procedure for the JPs for issuing citations, and it directs the clerk to issue the citation to the party, and it specifically states it is the responsibility of the party to obtain service on the defendant, excuse me, of the citation and or petition, if any, because in justice court, there's not always a petition. There is an ability for at any level, at any court, to pay the $60 fee as authorized by the Commissioners Court and obtain the service by the constable and or sheriff. But you can't once that fee is collected, that's specific by statute for payment of service by the sheriff or constable, not by a private process server.
How much has been paid out that you can figure?
In fiscal year 2008, there was approximately $145,000 that was paid out to private civil process. This year, fiscal year, we're at probably about 58, maybe 64,000.
So does the JP have the option of not collecting that $60 fee and having the private individual go to the process server? And
That's not the JP's option. The JP has,
that's what I'm asking.
no, the JP,
Requiring the JP to collect the 60.
no, that's the, no, you misunderstood me. The JP has the, okay, if the person requests service by the sheriff or the constable, then they collect a $60 fee. The fee for filing, the fee for filing the suit in the JP's court is $27. If, I mean, I don't know what the JP, each of them do individually. I know only 4 of them have been using this process. The rest of them use the constables for service in their
They
district.
collect the $60 fee.
They collect
and
the,
use it.
but only at the request of the party. Remember, I told you, the statute clearly says it is the obligation of the party filing the suit, and they can request, you know, if I were a JP, I would be telling, I'd have my clerk advise a person filing suit. You've got 3 options. You can have the sheriff or constable serve it, and you pay a $60 fee. You can serve it yourself, and that's your responsibility to obtain your own process server. Or we can do it by certified mail, which there's a charge for that. And there's a AG's opinion on how you charge that. So those are the options. But what the option is not that you collect the $60 fee for sheriff service and then divert those funds to a process server. I believe it would potentially, I haven't examined it from that point of view, but I think it could easily be a conflict for a JP's clerk to collect funds for a private individual to serve the fee.
Richard, we approved all these checks in the past, right?
That's correct.
May I ask what the penalties for, having done that could be to somebody like me sitting on this court? I mean, is it a felony? Is it a
don't think
misdemeanor? Is it a, I think it would be,
Want to share a cell?
You have to ask the DA what the criminal penalty is. I don't know.
because you're my attorney.
But I don't know what criminal penalties are. I don't think you would have any culpability, Commissioner, because
Does the statute does the statute include any culpability to anyone?
it could.
Because if it doesn't, we can continue doing the same and it doesn't.
No.
Well, evidently there's a problem because you brought it to our attention.
Well, there is a problem.
There's a
and
problem.
I think that you cure it when you've been made aware of it.
Right.
And speaking of Martha earlier, this has been going on for as long as you can remember, right?
Correct.
10, 12 years.
Yes.
And this court, present and past, have approved those payments based on the recommendation of the auditor.
Right.
It's okay?
Uh-oh.
But she's only been there for years, it's not her fault. And so this goes back to probably the last couple of auditors that we've had. Now, we've been made aware that it's a problem, we need to fix it. One thing I agree, that I think that you've got if you don't have a conflict in fact, you've got a conflict in appearance by having a county employee after hours go serve and get paid the whatever dollars they get paid. I'm not saying they did anything inappropriate or wrong, but just the appearance of it should be enough to say, hey, that's got to stop.
Raise a red flag.
Yeah, and I guess the other question is, do you 1099 them at the end of the year if it's over $600? And that's a rhetorical question. You probably don't.
Yes, I do.
Do you really?
Yes.
So then we've known.
Oh, we got a record then.
That they were getting that, okay? But that's neither here nor there. Let's go forward. I think that the issue is if we've spent $100 and some odd thousand in the last fiscal year, we're up to 50, how much, 58,000? In this fiscal year, that's money that could have stayed. Because the constables get paid to do that. That's part of their core functions, is to
It's
be...
part of their duties.
Yeah, to be process servers. And over the years, these constables have developed everybody kind of does their own thing. They need to go back to the core duty, or their core function was to process serve. They get paid to do that. Their deputies get paid to do that. So we need to make a decision, maybe not today, but pretty soon, if that's what we're going to do. You stop the civil process thing, and you've got to instruct the constable to do that, as best that we can. I know that we can't tell them what to do.
They're elected
I think we
officials.
also need to have Richard Burst hold a training session for the JPs.
Yeah, but that
And
ought to be
explain
like
to us like he...
basics 101.
That's
Explain to
continuing
us.
education. But they're not going to go anywhere. They're
But
going
they're
to
not going to go, no travel involved.
Only four of the JPs are doing this, Commissioner Rogers.
Well, those four need the
Those four
training.
need training. They need to understand what their options are. They may not know.
I've been asked by one of the JPs to attend, they've got an annual, or a monthly meeting they have amongst the JPs, and I've been asked to, and as well as the auditor, to attend that and explain this process.
You don't need to
to
do that. On the ones that are here today, if they've already performed a service, wrongly or rightly, but if they performed a service, they need to get paid, but you stop it.
Well,
Unless you're telling us we can't pay
You
them.
can't pay it.
So you
in my
cannot say
opinion.
that even though they provided a service.
Yes, in my opinion, you can't pay it. It shouldn't have been paid, and now that we know it can't be paid, you're paying a private entity from county funds for a person that's a private person. You're not paying a county expense
All right.
from county funds.
I would like to move to table this item and have you research it to see, I don't want to shortchange anyone that has performed a service knowing that they were going to get paid.
And we've probably already got some who have served
More.
I've already reached
that haven't
Obviously, we
submitted
have. She
requests
just
for
gives the
reimbursement.
numbers.
I have the claims presented today were $3,060. I have pending $1,080, which I received today that have not been processed. And one of the other JP offices additionally has...
We don't have a reason to continue the practice now that we've been made aware that it's not right.
I still would like to make sure, I'd like to move to table the item and have the auditor and legal look to see if there's any way legally that the individuals that have performed a service for us can be paid. And then be brought back to us.
Okay, that's a motion by Commissioner Garza, as he stated. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Approval of minutes for June the 5th, 11th, and 15th of 2009. Have the court members had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Are they ready for
Motion for
approval? Moved by
approval.
Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item carries. Item D, do I hear a motion to table?
So
Moved
moved.
by Commissioner Wood, seconded by Commissioner Gatz. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Now for the item that everyone's here for. I know that's why Doyle's here. Item E, discussion of request from town of South Padre Island to create an interlocal agreement with Cameron County to develop and implement land development regulations for the town's ETJ in amending existing Padre Island zoning ordinance. The reason this came on was because I did receive a letter from the city asking this, and rather than saying no, place it on the agenda for discussion and the appropriate action. So with that, Richard, do you need to say something about this, what we want to do, or what they want us to do? And then I do want to hear from the interested parties that are here, and I'm assuming that they're speaking out not in favor of it, and I'm assuming that, is that correct? Anybody there in favor of it? You're in favor of it? Everybody else is against it, pretty much? Okay. So we'll just take it from there, and then everyone is free to speak. Try to limit your commentaries to about 3 to 5 minutes, and we'll do that.
I'd like to get a briefing from legal
Yeah, he's going to do that.
first.
Well, you know what, don't we need to hear a motion and a second to open up for discussion? Do we need a motion and a second to open up for discussion?
That's
No?
just Robert's
All
rules.
right, go for it.
But I would like to, I've got a map up there, I would like to go up from the podium. If I could.
First of all, I will be talking, this is the existing map of the zoning on South Padre Island, was put into effect in October of 1954, subject to an act which passed the preceding year. You will notice it's never been amended except one time, and that was to add some wording what we're discussing here. This, as you can see, when it was zoned back in 1954, the whole island was zoned, including what is now the city. This is pre-city. So the city had taken over anything from here to here was in the city limits. The other thing that I cannot tell you from what I see, it would take engineering or someone to look at it. I don't know how far north it goes. You have authority to zone as far north as the county line.
Willacy County line, right,
Yeah,
according to
Willacy
this
County.
document there.
But the problem is that document references this, it adopts this as your zoning districts. It defines in the ordinance what you can do in each district, but the districts were set out on this map for each district in the towns under the color code here for the district. So, and then this map sits up the area zoned, and I don't know if this is to the county line or not. I can't tell on the map, okay? So with that preamble, I mean, we do have a zoning ordinance in effect, but it does need updating at very least, because it is a 1954 zoning ordinance. And the way you update it, you appoint a zoning commission, and they make an initial report.
Richard,
Yes.
may I ask you, what statute are they utilizing to allow us to have the zoning ordinance?
It is section
21, what is it?
no, it's 2.3,
231?
yes,
231.
2.3, it's chapter 231 of the local government code.
Title 7, is that?
Yes. And it specifically authorizes both Willacy and Cameron counties on the island, and limited to the island only, to zone the unincorporated areas of the island. No one else can, no other county can do that. We have, well, there are some other zoning, special zoning ordinances now. But that allows us to zone the unincorporated area. It sets forth a detailed procedure. I've explained the procedure by email to you all, that it basically, you appoint a 7-member commission. The only purpose of that commission that I can see from the statute is to initially make a report to the Commissioners Court on what was done as far as the zoning, and then subsequently you have the authority to amend it or to reclassify the districts or to extend it, as long as it's within the unincorporated areas of the county. And again, you would need a commission appointed of 7 people to make that, to look at it, come back to the report to you all. You, as a body, have the ultimate authority to either amend it or not amend it, or repeal it. You can repeal it. You also have that option under the statute. And so, but that needs to be done, I believe, because this is a very old ordinance. It has, for instance, height limitations that are no longer, I think, appropriate. There should be the commission, the zoning commission, should interface with county engineering to get determinations, get the information they need for proper restrictions and limitations within each classification of zoning. Now that addresses the county existing zoning. And answer the questions you have with regard to county zoning and move forward into the request of South Florida Island.
Any questions on the zoning before he moves on?
Now, the letter the request from South Padre Island is that we enter into an interlocal agreement with them? That's from what I understand?
Their request is that we enter into, and I think the most aggressive north end, the north side, and they're requesting that, actually, they put, I gave you a copy of their letter, they have 3 options in there. There are some limitations on what you can do, but they want to participate, and I'll let them present their proposal to you, but they want to participate in the zoning so that it's consistent with the city zoning, is my understanding. However, you can enter into an interlocal with them to do certain things, but they, for instance, they can be appointed on the commission, on the zoning commission, members of, the only qualification to be on the zoning commission is if you're a resident of Cameron County. You can be within the city limits or without. That's the only qualification. So one way to get their input would be to appoint members of the city onto your zoning commission. You also have, by statute, a specific option of appointing your 7-member Parks Board as the zoning commission. That's contained within the statute. And of course, you can do that anyway. You can appoint any 7 members you all agree to be appointed in the zoning commission. And that's, I mean, essentially, I mean, that's their request is to participate in that in some fashion, and they can explain that to you. Once you have a zoning commission and you get it in place, there's also this is not a requirement. The zoning commission is a requirement. You're going to amend it or repeal it or do anything. There is a board of adjustment that is a discretionary act of this body. If you keep the zoning, once you get it, and the board of adjustment's purpose is to hear variances, exceptions, and appeals from the administration. In other words, if your engineering administratively denies a building permit because of zoning problems, setbacks, whatever, they have the ability to appeal to the board of adjustment, or if they want a variance. You know, you say, oh, we got so many stories you're allowed in that district, but we want to go 2 more. You can ask for a variance to the board of adjustment. If you don't appoint a board of adjustment, then by default you all are it. You are the board of adjustment. Okay? And with that, unless you have other questions for me, I stop my behind and let it do you.
All right.
Okay.
Who's going to be the
Spokesperson.
spokesperson, or y'all want to chit-chat a little bit, or Abraham, or Doyle, or we're going to hear the pros first and then the cons? Okay. Let's hear the pros. And just introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Robert Fudge. I'm Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission on the island. And with me is Rick Vasquez, who's the city planner. In the last 6 or 7 months, myself and one of the building officials has met with with the county staff on some of the problems we are encountering as the north end of the island and the ETJ starts to develop. And we currently in the ETJ review subdivisions only, the subdivision itself. We have no control over zoning because that's your jurisdiction. And what we're trying to accomplish is there's areas that have no zoning in the county, some that have some. We're trying to find a way to get it zoned, however you want it zoned, but to get it zoned so that in the future, if they ever want to become part of the city, we don't have a situation where we're not going to be able to recommend they come into the city due to setbacks or whatever the problems might be. And we're trying to get a little bit of a jump on it because we have seen 3 subdivisions in the ETJ in the last several months. So we're just trying to get ahead of it and to eliminate a problem before it becomes a problem. And we understand that the county has some staffing problems, and we're willing to do whatever we can do to assist, either by doing it jointly with you, assist you, or for you. We're just here looking, trying to get it together.
Well, first of all, we have staffing problems with what? With reviewing subdivisions? I thought they hadn't been busy enough lately. We haven't had as much development as normally we used to have.
Well, since our ETJ went out 5 miles, we're starting to look at, we just approved a preliminary plat at our meeting last month, and we've had a couple previously that have been in front of us that are in the county in our ETJ.
But the county reviewed those in a timely manner for you?
Well, we look at them strictly for the subdivision requirements. I think the county still has to see
Right.
those.
Yeah.
So they go through the process twice.
So they do go to the process through the county.
Any questions from the court? Thank you.
You're welcome.
You got Abraham, and you're just moving locations? All right.
Good evening.
Doyle, how you doing today?
Very well, thank you. I appreciate letting you share my evening with you. Normally I'd be sitting on the deck with Dolores sipping a little glass of wine right now, but this is delightful. First of all, I'm not against zoning at all. As a landowner, resident of Cameron County and South Padre Island, I really appreciate the opportunity. I'd like to clear up a few things that were said earlier, or maybe bring to light a better way to do it. I am very familiar with the 1954 zoning ordinance and the zoning plan that was presented. You're correct, the map behind us that was shown a little earlier does show primarily what's now the existing town of South Padre Island and probably extends up to the area of Andy Bowie. The zoning ordinance references a second county property, and that would be the extent of the zoning at that time. I can't identify today because Atwood Park was in existence at that time. The very end of the zoning ordinance, it states that all other lands north of this area are zoned single family. All of Cameron County to Willacy County on the island is zoned, for a point of reference. What we do, and I do, suggest is that the county do appoint a zoning committee, incorporate some of the people from the town. I suggest the city planner. I suggest the chairman of the Beach and Dune, the Planning and Zoning Committee for the town to participate with that so we have representation. Move about in an orderly fashion. What I really want is the opportunity for all the landowners that are involved, that reside in the county, reside in the valley, and are out of town to have some representation. I, to my knowledge, myself and Dolores, my wife, are the only voters that own land north of the town that live in South Padre Island, and we can exercise our right of the vote. Everybody else that owns land up there has no representation nor the vote. At least when they have county residents, they can vote. You guys in or out, that's their right. They lose that opportunity if they don't have it. So please take that in consideration. I do recommend, I'm aware of the fact that the ordinance does reference the County Park Board, who was a committee at that time. They're still in existence. They handle primarily county parklands. I strongly suggest that you appoint members of the Beach and Dune Committee of the county because they're well-versed on the Dune Protection Act and county and wetland issues that are going to be very important to incorporate within the zoning. I just got through a wonderful day of my formal protest for my taxes yesterday. And so I had a great opportunity to educate 6 people the best I could on our Dune Protection Act, the Dune Protection Line, our erosion rates, our impacts from the hurricanes, 404 with the Corps of Engineers, our wetland issues. It just goes on and on. So you do have a wealth of knowledge available to you. It should not be a burden on the general fund to do any of this because you have volunteers that are qualified to participate and do it for you. They do need the support of county engineering to facilitate with this. Start with what we have county-wise already. Work with the town and see what some of the visions that are working there. But let's come forward with a new plan for zoning that gives us the shining new community to the north that really will be the treasure and the jewel of Cameron County, and let's generate some ad valorem tax dollars. Let me develop my land to my capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Any questions?
No, I agree with you in terms of setting up a committee. As a matter of fact, some of those committee members could very well be in the audience today to talk about this. I think one of the things that you've become aware of, this new commission is very open. I mean, we talk about these types of issues, and it's important that you all are here. How do you want to, commissioners, how do you want to proceed? Commissioner Benavides?
I think there's some more comments also.
I think we had
There's
some more
more
comments.
people that want
Let me ask you, is anyone going to say anything different than what Mr. Wells said, or just want to, hi?
Good evening. Thank you all for letting me have the opportunity to speak. I've spoken with all of you at one point or another, as well as this commission. I am a landowner on Track 2 of the SPI subdivision, which is just north of Beach Access 6. I am within the ETJ. I also own land on Track 3, just north of there. Currently, I am working with the town and also the county on a subdivision. You may recall I was before you folks about a year ago on the Las Olas subdivision. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. We had major issues with the Corps of Engineers, who have basically decided up north that they are claiming everything is jurisdictional up to the vegetation line, up to the uplands, which out of an 18-acre piece of property left me with about 1.6 acres of developable property. So we've got clear indication from Clean Water Acts as well as a number of other regulations from the Corps. This is where they're setting it, and that finding was consistent with what they found on Track 3, which is my development called Cibola, that has been preliminarily approved by Planning and Zoning in respect to the preliminary plat of the subdivision. And again, they found the same thing, claimed up to the vegetation line, so I have only about 11 acres to work with, and that's also including the public beach and the right-of-way. And these findings were supported by my own experts at SWCA, so it's not an issue. So first of all, we have this issue of the Corps taking a huge chunk of land up there. The other thing, we all know the General Land Office. I've worked with them. I've worked with Beach and Dunes. Beach and Dunes has been fantastic. I've had some problems with the Corps, not because of their rulings, but some administrative issues that I hope are going to be resolved very quickly. But basically, we've got a huge chilling effect on that north end of the island. You can see nothing's selling up there. We've got the Zoll property that they're trying to sell for 10 cents on the dollar. Nobody's biting. The reason nobody's doing that, the reason nobody's putting it in applications, the reason you're not seeing any more tax dollars is because development up there is extremely limited, and we do have a problem with developers thinking, or landowners thinking, or investors thinking, what's the town going to do? They've been dragging out Angela Edwards for 2 years. What if they start the zoning? They're talking about setbacks. Bob Fudge mentioned setbacks, and that really reminded me of an issue that happened several months ago where there was Planning and Zoning and Board of Aldermen agenda that came up that I just happened to find out through an inside source, came up as an official meeting. They had some, if you will, a hired gun from Nueces County, basically telling the board members, you shouldn't build on a beachfront. Anybody who builds on a barrier island is crazy. I'm exaggerating to a certain extent, but basically his recommendation was, you got to push those setbacks way past where they are. Forget about the GLO, forget about Beach and Dunes. I'm telling you as an expert, you guys need to go way far west. So here we are, these decision makers, I'm sitting there, these decision makers. Nobody from Beach and Dunes was invited. I called Javier Mendez about it. He didn't even know it was happening. Doyle didn't know it was happening. And I'm thinking, these are the people in the county who are in charge of our property and have the authority, the only authority on our property, and they don't even know about this meeting. So that really concerns me. The other thing is the timing issue. If a board is set up, the subdivisions up there have been very difficult. I've been the only one permitting, taking the risk up there. The town has been very problematic in the sense that everything is taking a really long time. We've got things, board members coming up and saying, well, maybe we should put a 10-foot walkway within your property for a future nature trail, and things they don't have authority to regulate, and I respect their opinion and I see where they're coming from, but at the same point, I want to operate within the confines of the law, and I find things diverging from that, and I think if they're in charge of the zoning, I'm going to be looking at another 2 or 3 years in permitting something that should be relatively simple, and there's no more money left, and everything falls apart.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's basically it, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Angela. Appreciate you being here. Anyone else? Abraham?
I'm part owner in a few tracks there on the island, and I have quite a bit of experience because I've been on the board here in Brownsville and Planning and Zoning and the Equalization Board. And a board can be very instrumental in making things grow fast and to the point. And if there is an interest or to stop it, hold back and slow down, this is bad for development. Now, I think that in this case, the county should approve a board, including one person probably from the city of Padre Island, but majorly from people that own property on that north side. I think the people that own the property are sufficient, intelligent, and smart business and investment people that they would know what to do with it to the best of the county, and not give it to the city to dictate what the growth on the north will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, now, how do y'all want to proceed?
Judge, I agree. I think that we should go ahead and I, for one, would prefer that we just go ahead and name a planning and zoning commission of our own, but include people from the island and residents, people that know about zoning. Even if we have to reach into the Beach and Dune Committee members, if they wish to serve.
We have a lot of talented folks out there that can participate. I don't agree with Abraham to appoint all the zoning members, property owners, but I think property owners do need to have a voice at the table. This board, is it a 7-member board?
It's a 7-member board, yes, it must be 7. And the only qualifications are the county residents.
Right.
There's also, it's a non-paying, they can be reimbursed for travel if it's approved, and they are entitled to a clerk, assistant clerk, or secretary.
Right now. Yeah, no one's traveling unless it's
No what?
city education, so.
But what I'm saying, Javier said they can utilize park personnel, park secretaries for their secretarial needs, and then, of course, they'll need input from the engineering.
Well, I think that, I think we need to try to bring folks from outside of South Padre Island. I think we need maybe somebody, or a couple of people from the Laguna Madre area, the golf course, just try to bring some objectivity and some independence to it. I believe that somebody from the Dunes, the Dune group, I wouldn't even have a problem bringing somebody in from the Isla Blanca Park folks, or Surf Rider, some of these guys that we brought in, I think, and they're very objective. I mean, I know that they've got their own ideas, but you need that thought. I would also recommend appointing people from, I'd like to, if it's okay with the court, not appoint any elected official from either the city of South Padre Island or Cameron County. Just, you can do staffing.
But I don't think that's what we have on the agenda.
No, I know, but I asked what we're going to do. It is an action item.
Right. To
Okay.
create an interlocal.
I'm sorry, it's not an action, it's a discussion. It's a discussion.
It's not an action, it's discussion, but you can determine what you want to do in the future. Certainly, you don't have the ability, yes, you don't have the ability to appoint anybody tonight.
Okay, so, right, correct.
Yeah.
Well, that gives us a couple of weeks to come up with some names. Commissioner, I think you'd be instrumental in getting with, let's say, the Doyles of the world, and Abrahams or Angelas or whomever wants to sit, and maybe, we have 7 spots, but I would encourage the court to appoint somebody, or 1 or 2 people from outside the island area. Island can have a majority, whatever, but I think you need to have that type of input and that type of objectivity come to the zoning. So that gives us a couple of weeks. We'll give it something. Nothing's going to happen today. We'll give that some thought, and then you may want to just talk amongst yourselves and see, who you'd like to sit on this zoning commission. We'll get with Javier as well and have him come up maybe with the chairman or somebody that has the time to dedicate to this from the Dunes folks. I would also ask Javier, I know he's gone, but ask somebody from either Surf Rider or Isla Blanca, somebody, maybe 1 member from that, and we'll just take it from there. Is that all right? Angela, you all right with that? Okay. Abraham?
So what we're saying tonight is that we are not going to create an interlocal agreement.
That's correct.
We are not going to create an
That's
interlocal.
correct.
We're going to have our own board to oversee that. That will be inclusive of personnel or individuals from the town of South Padre.
That's correct. The town has to play a part in this. I mean, they have to have a seat at the table. And y'all can obviously select whomever you want, but maybe somebody from P&Z, somebody from your engineering staff or whatever, somebody, because they're going to need, everyone's going to need some guidance on this. Commissioner?
Well, what I was going to say is that we're forming this board to then come back and be able to do this, what they're asking, like amending existing federal and zoning ordinance and so on, that will come from the board.
Right.
The recommendation will be
That's
coming
right.
from the board.
This will be like a
So-
regular planning and zoning commission. I think, Abraham, didn't you sit on a P&Z board, City of Brownsville? He'd be somebody good to have on there because he's familiar with all those regs. The island's a little bit different. And I would, and I don't, and try to get just one or two of the property owners, get with the town, and come back with, if you want to spearhead that, Commissioner, just to kind of get with them and come up with maybe 7 names?
Well, I think that's what I need to know, is how you want to do it. If you want me to spearhead it, I'll work with them and work with
Well, why don't
others.
you both do it together, okay? And then Commissioner, if you want.
Do we have to vote?
No, not today. Today, we're just going to acknowledge it. Acknowledge the,
But in order to form that board,
no, we're not going to form it. What I want to do is at the next meeting, come back and have an agenda item on to do that, but in the interim, be thinking of names that we can have on
well,
that day.
that's what I was going to say.
If you want to
It's
have
going-
somebody on that board from Laguna Madre area, because you
I would
represent from Port
definitely
Isabel
like
on?
someone from
Okay.
Port Isabel or Laguna Vista.
Good idea to do that?
To be there.
Yeah, and then just try to come up with 7 folks.
It is
Let me ask you
appropriate.
something.
It's appropriate. I'm sorry.
Of the 7 people, would the person from either planning and zoning from the city of, from the town count as one of them?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then our engineering
Well, we
department,
don't
would
have to
that?
have our engineering in there
You
for
don't?
now, but they can be there as support staff to help. And let the board decide versus us, who they want to be the chair. Let them decide amongst themselves.
You got 5 precincts, 4 precincts, and 5 nominations right there among you, just like we do with these, and some all the other.
If you want to do that, that's fine.
I would like to be able to.
Well, yeah, because you have that area.
I think the people that have that area over there should be.
I think that'd be better.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't each of us have a 5-member board? I mean, appoint 5. City of South Padre Island, you nominate 1 person from your city, and then you all amongst yourselves, property owners, decide on 1 person. All right? That way, everybody has a chip at the table.
Put a realtor on that board, realtors with knowledge and vision that a lot of people don't like being on those boards. I see that it's always good to have a realtor.
Yeah, but the only concern that I have about appointing a realtor is just the obvious. I mean, it's a vested interest. That's my concern. If someone from the court wants to appoint a realtor, I'm not going to say, no, don't do it.
Because they're very knowledgeable of what's going on.
But they also have a vested interest in what happens. And so, I'd rather try to get it. So will the landowner.
And so does the city of South Padre Island.
Well, that's why we have to
That's the way it
maintain as
works.
much objectivity. I mean, yeah, but the city the guys that go from the city of South Padre are going to profit from it, potentially. Landowners might. That's why you appoint 1. But that's up to you. If you all want to appoint a realtor, that's fine. I'm just telling you what the precautions are.
Realtors are very outspoken, they have vision. When you have, like, a private citizen, they think different than somebody that has a realtor's mind is more business-wise.
Right.
Bigger, you see. But you don't want to have, the island is so narrow that you don't want to have only residential. It would be residential, but wealthy and high, big,
Well,
having a lot more money to the county.
Let us make the decision in terms of our 5. You all do 1. I beg to differ, not all realtors have vision, but most of them do. But I think that it's a good idea to, amongst yourselves, appoint 1. And, and then we just pick 1 from here, and if someone wants to appoint a realtor, that's
I
fine.
have a realtor with vision, okay?
I'm sure you do.
Vision.
Mr. Rispoli?
Judge, it is appropriate to do what you're doing. It's come up with a process on how you're going to appoint them, but I would think it can, come to some consensus. The subject matter is on the agendas, so you can certainly come to a consensus of how you want to make the appointments. There go, each of you make one, and they make one.
I think I've already outlined that. If there's no disagreement, that that's the way we want to go, one of each, one from the city and one from a property owner. If that's okay, then we'll just go with it, yeah.
And it'll be brought back to our
Yeah.
next meeting.
Let's bring it back in a couple of weeks, Pete. Let's bring this back at our next regular meeting. Hopefully, we'll all have names ready to provide, and off we go. At those 2 weeks, you all have a name, and the city of South Padre Island have a name. All right. Let me ask of our legal, do we have veto power? In terms of if this planning and zoning, or zoning commission comes to us with something to do we have the authority to veto their recommendation?
Yes. You have the final approval.
Okay.
All they're coming to you with is a recommendation.
I just wanted to go on the record with that. Okay.
Richard,
All cities do that.
Comes up to us.
Sounds good. All righty.
and I think on the city of Brownsville, all the members are city residents, except one is required to not be a city resident, because there are lots of ramifications that goes into that. Also, in the city of Brownsville, there are alternates appointed. Is there any provision in this to provide for alternates?
No, it's very specific. It says it shall
I'm
be
asking
seven.
because alternates are used in the city of Brownsville to make up quorums sometimes, to not delay people who want to get their zoning passed.
Brownsville has latitude as a municipality. We do not, and the statute enables us to do it, and it specifically says 7 members. That's it.
As you all go through your membership, just make sure, all of us, that the person that we're going to appoint has the time to serve, is going to be willing to serve, and not just wants to pad a resume. Okay? All right. All right, anything else? Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Do I hear a motion to, acknowledge the discussion? So moved. Moved by Commissioner Vance, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Thank you, guys.
And I think that we should say, one thing is, thank the town of South Padre for bringing this to our attention and trying to make something better than we have in existence today.
Correct. Thank you all. Item F, consideration approval of an interlocal agreement between the City of San Benito, Texas, Cameron County, Texas, and San Benito Reinvestment Zone Number 1 pursuant to Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code and appointment of a member of the County Commissioners Court to the Zone Board of Directors. Hey, Frank.
Hi, Judge. Commissioners, this item came before the court a few months back and dealing with a reinvestment zone that the City of San Benito created. They asked for county participation in tax increments, and the court directed the City of San Benito to come back with their final redevelopment plan and finance plan and the interlocal agreement so that the county could participate. The agreement has been reviewed by staff. It's consistent with the prior interlocals that the court has approved for other cities, including Brownsville and Harlingen and Lafayette.
So tonight, do we appoint the member, Judge?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the past, just so that you know, the Commissioners Court has approved or has authorized the commissioner in
That's in
whose
that.
precinct that zone is.
I make a motion.
Is this in
that
your precinct,
Commissioner
David?
Garza-
I believe most of...
I second it.
I second it.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood to approve Commissioner Gatsa to this group, whatever it is.
It's not whatever it is, sir, it's a TERS.
Whatever it is. You know what, that's whatever
Now
it
that
is.
he's on it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries. Okay, now for the fun part. Item G, discussion possible action regarding the fiscal year 2009-2010.
We can table it for the next meeting if you like.
No,
Might as well
we're going to
bite
need
the
every
bullet.
meeting to do this.
I put in front of y'all a spreadsheet that looks like this, and that is the latest that we have. We have been meeting with a number of departments, and actually, our office has been trying to coordinate with has contacted all departments and requested that they come in and schedule a meeting so we can review their budget as to where we could conceivably try to save some money or cut back. We have met with 27 departments, and there are 75 departments that are still pending, that have either not responded or have set appointments that we have not been able to meet with them yet. Presently, in the worksheet that I gave you all, last time this was presented, we had approximately a 4.7 million shortfall. And that 4.7 million reflects an adjustment that was done to the revenues, and it is based on the presumption that the jail may have to, in the event they have to basically ship out 100 federal inmates. That equates to $1.3 million loss of revenue to the county. So that having been said, that would bring the deficit to 4.7 million. On page 3 of the detail that I gave you, there is before the meetings, we had a $4.7 million deficit. We have met with, like I said, with a number of the departments. The departments that have an X right beside them in one of the columns, those are the ones that we have been able to meet with and that have initiated savings. Based on the meetings that we've conducted with them, after the meetings right now, we still are looking at a $4 million deficit, $4.1 million deficit. And we have received the latest information from the appraisal district. Before the property values had increased approximately 2.85%. Right now, after notice of protest hearings, they have increased only 1.85%. We will get the official tax roll the latter part of July. I believe it's July 23rd or July the 25th. And once we receive that information, then we will know approximately the amount of revenue that we can project to a tax revenue that we will be able to receive. Basically, we're meeting with departments that are, to date, relatively small. We have met with the larger departments that we met has been the Sheriff's Department, the Tax Assessor Collector, and the County Clerk. There are some other large departments, obviously, that are still pending that we have not been able to meet with. The majority of the departments that have come forth are your smaller departments, and they are basically already operating on a shoestring budget, and the only remedies that they have, if they are going to initiate a cut, is going to be a staff reduction.
Who's that?
The smaller departments that we have been meeting with, because some of those are 2, 3, and 4 personnel departments. So,
Let me ask you though, this $4,094,000, that does not include the
further reduction on the revenues from the bridge, yes, from the bridge system. So I would encourage Commissioners Court to issue a stronger directive that we can take with the departments to try to start getting ready to be as far ahead as we can be in trying to address this deficit. That way, when we get the official tax roll, we can have a stronger directive from the court as to how we need to approach the individual departments. If we continue to meet with the departments, which we will, we are basically meeting again with your smaller departments, and we're basically just nickel and diming them to death, but it is not going to cure a $4 million deficit right now. So I would look to the court to issue a stronger directive as to what action we should take.
Well, I know that I've met with y'all once, real briefly.
Yes, you did.
And I made a few notes on just some current thoughts, and there'll probably be others go around. I'd like to pass them out so everyone can have them if you want to pass these out. Martha, you'll need a copy of them, Commissioner. One of my thoughts would be to revisit the rates charged at Isla Blanca RV Park. That our budget officer can figure out, how much that might improve the revenue to the county based on percentage of increase if we consider doing that. The other one would be consider using current county employees and equipment for repairing the roads in Precinct 2, because I certainly don't want to speak for other precincts, that were damaged by Hurricane Dolly using the Orca Disaster Recovery Fund, subject to us receiving the monies that we've requested from that fund. That would actually keep the Precinct 2 crews busy for well more than a year. That would mean that I think in Precinct 2 we probably have about $450,000, $470,000 a year that goes into the roads in Precinct 2. If we had, and if we get, which I think we're all hoping we get and expect to get the Orca money for repairing the roads that were damaged, that would be able to put that $450,000 into the general fund as opposed to into the road and bridge fund, at least in Precinct 2, which would be a big help in solving some of the shortfall in the general fund budget as opposed to road and bridge. And then another thing that we've talked about in the past, but kind of never made any real commitments to. I know we talked about it last year when we were talking about the cost of fuel and things, and that would be having public works employees that actually go out of the warehouses to job sites, work a 10-hour day, 4-day-a-week work schedule. The savings that would be involved there would be the fuel and wear and tear on the equipment. It would also provide more production time for these employees while they're out in the field working, because obviously every morning when they get ready to go out, it's a little bit of time to get ready, and it's travel time to get to the location, and then when they come in the afternoon, it's the same thing. So we can cut at least one day's worth of travel time to and from and preparation time to and from, and cut the cost of the equipment during the traveling. We have about 83, I think, regular employees in the Public Works Department. 5 of them are in the office, and I would suggest that they continue to work 8-hour days, 5 days a week, because the offices continue to get requests for different needs and calls for problems and things. So that would leave 78. We've also got a couple mechanics that are there, and they, I would think, would need to continue working a 5-hour or a 5-day work week. So that only leaves about 76 that actually travel to the job sites regularly on a regular day basis. And we've got about 24 in the Colonia crew, 24 employees, that could also be cut to a 4-day, 10-hour work week, which gives us 100 employees total, plus the equipment, about 40 pieces of equipment, including vehicles and heavy equipment, in the regular work crews, and 8 pieces of equipment in the Colonia. That would be 48 pieces of equipment that would not be making the travel from the warehouse out to the job site at least once a week. And I would assume that you and Javier could calculate the savings that this might come up with. I don't know how, I guess we get Mr. Ara to calculate the additional production that would be done by having 10 hours to work during the day instead of the 8, which is cut down by about an hour anyway.
We could get with Mr. Ada and work on getting a projection as to what the actual savings, or what we anticipate the savings would be. I am sure that this would generate some savings. Yes.
How does it reduce our 4.1 million?
On the road and bridge.
I know that.
Mhm.
So it doesn't do anything to the 4.1.
The 4.1 is a general fund.
That's general fund,
Right.
yes.
So road and bridge not even in here.
Okay, but let me ask John a
What
question.
money we save on the fuel and things doesn't have to go into road and bridge. It can be put into general fund, just like the money that normally goes into road and bridge for the road work that Precinct 2 employees do, or the ones that work in Precinct 2, they're not Precinct 2 employees. That money in the second paragraph there could go into general fund as opposed to being allocated to road and bridge in Precinct 2.
So you're suggesting reducing our tax amount on road and bridge?
I'm suggesting changing it back into general fund instead of going into road and bridge. We've done that in the past, I believe.
Yeah, well, we've reduced it and
Yeah,
talked
it
about
was
bringing it back to,
reduced, yeah.
and we're still
refunding general fund for the
refunding.
rate that went to road and bridge
Went to
several
road and
years
bridge.
ago.
Yeah.
No, we're talking, we talked about refunding the road and bridge fund from what went to general fund. Yes, we reduced it.
We've done that too.
Okay, we reduced it by a quarter of a penny.
That's correct. I'm saying shifting the penny back from road and
Right.
bridge back to the.
But, you know, we don't,
So that's not gonna.
we don't make it through half of the year with the allocated money now on the work that is being done.
And what I'm saying in Precinct 2, and I'm not talking about
Yeah.
Precinct 1 or 3 or 4, David, that's y'all's decision to assist with, if you can. No, you may not be able to.
Well, I would not be in favor of supplanting money with using ORCA funding for a year.
Yeah,
Because, you know, it's kind of like the next year, you're going to be even further behind.
Well,
Well,
if I get, or if the roads in Precinct 2 get $998,000 from ORCA funding that's been requested, we don't have any way to do $998,000 worth of work in 1 year. Because we only normally do about $475,000 worth of work in 1 year, and they stay busy doing that. So what are we going to do with that 470-some thousand that goes there, plus 998,000, if we get the ORCA funding? If we don't get the ORCA funding, that's a different issue.
That's a one-shot deal. That's
John-
It is a one-shot deal,
It's a
but
one-shot
it's also a Band-Aid deal to get money to general fund for this year,
Yeah, but we don't need
and
Band-Aid.
possibly next year to cover some of the issues we have now, and things may improve. We don't know.
Well,
You know,
John,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. Right now, and I agree with Commissioner Garcia, maybe this doesn't happen, John, and I can, Commissioner, and I can understand it might not because you don't have as many miles, but
Commissioner, you can turn on your microphone, I think it's on.
we,
Is it on?
yeah, it's on.
What is? Okay, sorry.
We usually run out of money around May, sometimes even April. The only reason that right now they're still working on roads is that it's FEMA money. That's why we've got money right now that we're able to use on roads. Now, I agree with you that it helps on the equipment on this plan, so that they're not traveling back and forth. In Precinct 4, the foreman already has the equipment placed in, he's got zones, it's divided, I think, into 5 zones, and he's got his equipment out there, he doesn't bring it back and forth, but that's management.
You know, one thing I think that everyone's forgetting is that we have a consolidated road system. That's what we're supposed to be operating on. So if you have money left over in Precinct 2, that should be flipped over to where the need is within Road and Bridge. It's not like, well, I'm going to take money from Precinct 2 and put it in general fund, because it's all part of the same pot, wouldn't it? I would think. I mean, we have a consolidated road system, and the reason that some precincts can do that, because the roads are minimal, and a lot of the roads are paved already.
Edna's precinct has a tremendous number of roads that need a lot of
Right,
work.
so why
on
would
them.
you want to shift it
And
to general
David,
fund and
yours
not
also.
transfer it over, though?
But how are we going to get the work done unless we hire more temporary personnel and lease more equipment?
Well, let me
And
tell
that
you.
may be an option.
We're getting off
tell you-
subject, because this is general fund, not Road and Bridge.
No.
Go ahead.
Well, but it's in relation to that, and I suggest that you look at item 5I that we approved today. We approved today this low bid on the construction for the third call of Las Palmas subdivision, okay? We had an amount allocated for that on the budget, and I'm going to use that word to see if I can't make it legal talking about it, okay?
How many you talk about?
You know, we had $1.9 million that were allocated for that project. When the project came in, we've sat down, and I've had a lot of meetings with our engineering department and our Department of Transportation. And I said, look, the cost of doing work has gone down. Let's look and see what there is out there and see if a bid would come in that would be lower, okay? We bid out this project. Our county engineer put out a bid package along with S&B that did the project. They came in, our local analyst, you know, Mr. Ada, said that it was going to cost us $1.15 million if we use local forces to do the project. We bid out the project. We awarded a low bid today of $1.062 million.
Now, this is Colonia money. Okay.
You know, utilizing someone that we don't have to supervise, utilizing someone that doesn't use our equipment, utilizing someone that if equipment gets vandalized, it's their problem, not ours, utilizing someone that our engineering department, along with S&B, who are consultants of this project, will oversee, you know, just to make sure the work is done right. And we're saving money, even to our own estimates of what the cost would be. So if we get ORCA funding, I think we ought to look at those types of transactions to occur with outside sources. You know, they're being very competitive in what they're charging for work done. We were in Austin a week or 2 weeks ago at the TxDOT meeting, and some of the projects came in at 38% below projected amounts. One project came in at about 23% below projected amounts. So there's inherent savings in the process by utilizing outside sources. And I don't know if that's something that we should look at for some of our departments. I mean, can we outsource payroll?
Well, let's
Just a thought. Well, I mean, and I'm talking about general budget. How many people do we have that work on payroll?
We have 4 in our department.
Okay, can we outsource payroll for less than it costs us to do? Can we outsource any other things and have them done for less than it's costing us to do now? Are we wanting to even look and consider some of those options?
I don't think anything is off the table. We got $4 million to make up, and these are good, nice little suggestions, but, you know, again, if we go back to the Isla Blanca, you know, the park is suffering as it is. They don't, you know, any money that we generate there has to stay within the park system because they need the help. On transferring money from general fund, I mean, from road and bridge back to general fund, I'd prefer sending it to the other precincts that need the money for their infrastructure. We would recommend maybe changing, if that's the case, if they have all this windfall of money that's going to come in, and you want to, I would recommend that we shift the tax rate back. If there's that much windfall coming in of money, shift it back over to road and bridge. But this is a one-shot deal, you're right. And I said last year we adopted the budgets that we're going to have a difficult time next year, which is now. If we do those one-shot deals, it's going to double up. And I don't know if this court's willing to bet on the come, hoping that things are going to get a little bit better. I mean, this is going to be hard. I understand, and these are nice suggestions, but they're all road and bridge related, and I think the same thing with the parks related. You know, what are we going to do to either reduce expenditures or increase revenues? Now, we got some issues regarding collectability. I know, Tony, do you want to? I know you've been working on something on the with the scofflaw. Do you want to say something about that today, and then, or wait for your presentation in a couple of weeks? That might help a little bit, but it's unproven. But you just want to just touch base on what your office has been working on.
Well, we made a presentation to the court, about 3 months ago, having to do with a program called scofflaw, and there's about 5 counties that have initiated this scofflaw program, which allows the tax collector's office to deny title registration or renewal licenses for
those individuals that owe a fine to the county, in this case, JP's office. When we started looking at this program, there was about $17 million that were due to Cameron County from different type of traffic violations. We did an update a couple of weeks ago. It's up to $19 million now. Out of the $19 million, there's approximately $10.3 million collectible, meaning that there's $10 million worth of tickets due to Cameron County on vehicles that are registered in Cameron County. The rest are either out of state, out of the county, out of state, or foreign license plates, meaning Mexico. So it's very interesting looking at this data.
Can they give you a breakdown by JP, right?
Yes, we've been able to break it down by JP, by different type of categories. So if we should be ready to show you what we have, what we've done, what's collectible, what's not collectible at the next Commissioners Court meeting, if you want.
Have you met with the auditor's office yet in regards to those numbers?
No, not yet. I met with her on our budget hearing, which was the day before yesterday. Tuesday. And we talked about our budget, and I briefly mentioned about this
Budget
particular
meeting,
program.
not hearing.
About this particular program. And what I plan to do is have her visit my office and have her look at our data, our presentation, for that way both of us can be prepared for the 23rd, and that way she'll look at what's really out there. But it's going to have to be, if we do implement this program, of course, has to be done by resolution. We have to adopt a contract with TxDOT, and of course, everybody, if we do approve this program, everybody has to be on board, not only the auditor's office, my office, and every JP out there.
Okay. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
Mark, if we can go back to what we really need to talk about, which is the revenue side, which is $2.5 million short of what it was last year. If we just go, we know why the bridge is what the bridge is, but let's go to the county clerk as an example. Why are you budgeting almost $400,000 less in revenue, and I'm going to go on to the big ones, than what we had last year?
I'm budgeting that based on the revenues that I have seen to date have been collected, based on the amount of case dispositions, and that is what it's based on, and I feel comfortable with that figure being a realistic figure unless we see a trend that's going to change.
Because, well, if you go on down, is that the same general administration, the same thing? I mean, there's a reason why, if you go to, some of the, let's say JP 7.2, you're projecting $125,000 less in revenue.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the next one, 5.1, $62,000.
That's correct.
Less. The rest are, a little bit here and there, but I'm not concerned with the increases, but why are their fees so significantly down as compared to the prior year? I mean, they're down 50%.
If you will take all of the, JP offices,
Then you add them together?
and you add them together, you basically have the same total collection. I think that the total collection for all the JPs has only increased by about $55,000. So what you're basically seeing is you're seeing the same revenues being collected, but they're being centralized in different offices.
Well, I think that report that Tony's going to bring us is going to show the amount of fees that have been uncollected for the last several years by JP, and I think y'all are going to be surprised. And I'm not recommending that we accrue or you certify all that money, because that's not going to be the answer, but I think you're going to have to certify at least enough to pay for a program, to do that. And I think Tony's going to work on a budget for that. The same thing, what about on there was one that I saw that here, hold on. District clerk. $100,000 less, the same thing. The revenues that we budgeted last year are just not coming in the way we thought last year. So we over budgeted revenue last year.
And we saw a decrease in last year's revenue as well. And if the court will recall, when they were coming forward requesting to increase the revenue from the passport collections, I advised the court that overall their collections, while the passport collections were up,
That's right.
that their general revenues were down.
That's correct. So it wasn't a windfall that we got because now we're short.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
One thing that I might mention to the court at this time is that we've got so many different departments and outsourcing of collection of uncollectible accounts. You've got the JPs collecting, you've got the county clerk and the district clerk that both have collections department collecting. You've got contracts with collection agencies that are collecting, that are getting a commission of county funds. And I think that one thing that needs to be considered, if this plan with the tax assessor collector, prevails, the court really should consider looking at all of these departments that are out there collecting to see which ones really are working and which ones are not, and determine which way they're going to go, instead of...
Well, most of those collections, most of them are collecting, but there's fees associated with the collection that pays for their services, right?
Yes.
Okay? It's not like out of $100 that comes to the county, we're having to give up more because...
The collection fee is
Right.
assessed on top of
It's
the
on-
actual
right.
assessment, yes.
Right. So we're not losing in that respect.
Right.
But
I guess we could assess...
come out ahead.
Right.
But we could
That's the
assess a
thing.
collection fee as well and keep it, can't we?
I believe the tax assessor's plan, it does allow for that.
Okay.
In that particular, in the SCUF
Yes.
process, but not for the other types of delinquent collections.
I don't believe so.
For example, property tax collections. He couldn't do his collections on delinquent taxes and collect the fees. Right, Tony?
What was your question? I'm sorry.
My question is, your department could not do what right now Linebarger does for you and collect the same fees they're able to collect, right?
Yes and no.
Okay,
Because,
it's got to be yes or no, not yes or
Well,
no.
because we don't have it, right now, we don't have the personnel, and I think...
No,
what you're-
but the statute, doesn't the statute limit us?
What you're talking about, Commissioner, is that we cannot add on the attorney's fees come July 1st. The city of Travis County does their own tax collections in-house.
And delinquents?
And delinquents, yes, yes. And what they do, and they've done it, they've never had delinquent tax attorneys, as far as I know. They do all their delinquent tax collections in-house, but what they do is, every time they file a lawsuit, they add on their collection fee. You can't collect it up front like private attorneys. You actually have to file a lawsuit in order to collect your...
So it's only for the lawsuit part,
Yes.
not for
Yes.
the regular
Yes.
collections?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think...
And the percentage of collections we have of lawsuits compared to the whole piece of the pie is what, maybe 6%?
Approximately.
Yeah. So it's the other amount.
Yeah, that's...
And you don't see any, I guess you'll have a better number at the end, around end of August,
At the, yes.
mid-August?
Hopefully at the, maybe in about 3 weeks, we should have a better information.
Okay, on the jail detention, that's what you're talking about, the 1.2.
Correct.
Where is it on the expenditure side that you show, don't we have to pay to house criminals if we have to send them out? Do you have somewhere on here, on the savings, on the expense side?
If we would have to pay, these would be federal inmates.
Wouldn't accept them.
That's correct. But I'm saying, but if the way the overcrowding works, if you have a federal, you have to ship out your local inmate, you got to pay. Isn't that the way that works? Right? So if we don't have the federal inmates and we've got room, so wouldn't we be saving that daily charge if we have to ship them out?
You would,
Yeah.
but that hasn't been factored in.
That has not been factored in. Okay. Do you know how much, you may want to look at how much we paid, or we've paid in the current fiscal year for outside housing of inmates? You know, that was one of the concerns that the sheriff had in terms of the amount of money being spent having to transport these fellas out.
No, we haven't.
No, I know, but that's what we talked about because of the overcrowding issue. That's correct. That's correct. I understand that. The 1.2 million. Okay. All right. Okay. On the expense side, you know, I think, I don't know, I've made the position clear that I think we need to ask these larger departments to cut 5-6%, and the smaller ones maybe 2%, those that can. I mean, I know there's going to be some exceptions because they're run lean as it is. But some of the larger, if you got a $2 or $3 million budget, they can't find $50,000 or $100,000 in that budget.
If the departments that have a budget of between 200,000 to 400,000, if they all reduce their expenditures by 2%, and I did this on a staggered basis,
Right.
if they reduce their expenses by 2%, then that would be a savings of 121,000.
Right.
The departments that have a budget of between 400 and 1,000 up to $1 million, if they reduce their expenditures by 2.5%, that would be a savings of 232,000. The departments that have a budget of $1 million and up, if they reduce their expenditures by 3%, that would be a savings of 1.5 million. So together, that would equate to 1.9.
And that's just at 3%.
Correct.
Bigger budget.
And that's on a staggered basis on a, yes.
I think that's the direction we have to go. I mean, I think that, you know, I mean, if we're looking at what the revenue stream is, and even if we did all that, that's been recommended to shifting back from road and bridge and all that stuff, you know, we still, it's not going to make it.
That particular shifting issue it's going to help some, but I don't, we would be able to shift some of that, but
Yeah. it's
not, but it would help some. That is correct.
We're going to take a lot of drops to fill a bucket here. And that's assuming that the court wants to shift from road and bridge back to general.
Yes, that's up to the court.
You know, let me ask you, when the shift when the tax rate shifted from general to road and bridge, how long ago was that, Commissioner? You remember? Remember when there was a shift, we shifted.
From road and bridge to general.
Remember that? I mean, that was done years ago. Pete, do you remember?
No, that was before even Pete's time.
It was before we came on board, John.
Yeah.
So it had to be
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, we shifted back,
Was it a
and then
penny?
we
I
shifted.
think you shifted a penny or
We shifted a penny, but
road and
then
bridge to general
we
fund?
kept trying to inch back to the penny, and we never reached the whole amount.
How much has been shifted back?
It takes a while before you go back to,
Nothing.
Yeah, we shifted, I think we're a quarter of a penny away,
I think so.
a quarter of a penny away from what it was.
That's a couple 100,000.
250,000.
That's not much.
Well, there's 5 miles of roads.
$250,000.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I know these numbers are big, but man, guys, we're looking at 4 million plus. I mean, you know, and what I'm trying to avoid is having to, you know, obviously to increase that tax rate. I think we're going to have to, but want to keep it somewhat manageable. All right. Keep plugging away, guys. That's all I can do. Now, if you go back and but again, this scenario that Commissioner Wood presented won't work unless all y'all decide to do it. You know, the 4-day work week, blah, blah, I mean, to really make it have an impact, it's got to be the whole deal.
Well, I think where we'll save, I mean, it's obvious, especially, you know, when we have such long distances to go, having that longer day will help.
It'll save a little
we'll
bit. I mean, that's,
definitely,
you know.
in my precinct, would really save on gas. I think that would, I'd like to discuss this with the foreman in charge of my precinct to see what he thinks. I don't think that it'll be enough savings to where it'll make too much of a difference, but.
I don't think it's going to exceed $75,000, to tell you the truth.
But
you know what, every little bit helps, but I I don't think that y'all want to go down the road about shifting, you know,
I would
all that
not
money
be in favor
back.
of shifting money out of that department.
I wouldn't
No,
either.
I'm saying about, I'm looking at it,
Yeah.
saving
Within.
within.
Right, no, I understand.
I definitely see where that, because we run out of money before the October 1st.
And again, in closing, as far as road and bridge, it's a consolidated system. So every money saved over here should be shifted over here. That's it.
Going back to general fund, on the gasoline expense, it has been projected at the same levels that it was set for this current fiscal year.
Which was what, $2.50? Or $3 a gallon? Remember, last year we set it high,
Was it
we were at
$4?
$4 a gallon.
I think it was $4 a gallon.
You can probably drop it down $1 and safely go to $3. Hey, everything.
We got to
high
balance
is a
the
risk.
budget.
You know, figure out how much it is if you drop it $1.
It is
That
substantial.
is going to be a big number. That'll be a big number.
Well, we just shifted $20,000, and it hurt me to say aye on that one from
That's-
fuel, because we had said we're not going to shift out of
Yeah,
that line,
and we have to.
you know.
Figure out what a buck
hated to see it
reduction would
done,
do. I think you're going to find it's going to be $500,000.
The problem is their
It's-
record
it's
is darn
quite a bit.
ours,
Yep,
you know?
$500,000. Okay, all right. Anything else about that?
Pete?
Pete?
Move to approve the sobering news.
Okay.
You're not through yet.
I went ahead and I was preparing an email to send out on the listserv, and to see which...
On the what?
On the county auditors listserv, our website for county auditors, to see how many counties out there are still giving the discount for early payment of property tax. The discount that the county gives is a little bit over $1 million.
And we talked about it last year. I remember Commissioner Benavides brought it up. And I guess the discussion was, and we talked about it today, what's it going to do to our cash flow? Because I think the lion's share of the money came in October, November, and December.
Like
So you need to get with Tony, and Tony just left. We need to get with Tony.
50-some%.
Yeah, it's like
came in.
a huge amount. And what's going to happen, people aren't going to do it. What for? They'd rather
Why
keep
should
their
you
money in
pay
their
early?
savings account, and so...
The people that are going to pay will pay by December.
And so we may have to go out and borrow funds to make payroll. I don't know. That's something, like I said, nothing is off the table. And that may be something that we can do.
And the more we get in earlier, even though we give them a discount, at least what we don't use, we're putting in an account that's earning some additional interest on it too.
Well, it's earning less than 1%, I'm sure, right now.
But if I'm saving 3% by paying in October, I'm going to pay in October, because I'm only earning 1%.
Yeah.
But if I'm not going to save that, wait till January.
We would have to do a cash projection to see what the cash flow effect is going to be.
I think you're going to find it to be significant. All right, but we'll talk about it. Anything else, Martha?
I think that's it.
Okay, move to acknowledge Martha's report. Moved by Commissioner Gatz, do I have a second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Item H, FEMA reimbursements. Robert, where are we? Same?
Same, Judge, Commissioners. Actually, right now, the most current activity is that we are preparing for project audits. We've had some discussion with FEMA, and
Is that
we're...
what the holdup is? They need to come back and audit certain...
That's, they hold a certain portion of the fund, like 20% is held, and then upon the audit, they'll release that fund.
Okay.
But there is projects right now that are currently haven't been funded, and those are the ones that we've been trying to find out what the holdup is.
Okay. Do I have a motion to acknowledge Robert's report?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Second by Commissioner Gatz. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Last item, item I, consideration possible action to continue the solid waste program until the end of this fiscal year. Move to table. Hear motion to table.
Excuse me, before you table,
Second.
can I?
Too late? No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I waited the whole meeting.
Discussion.
I know the sheriff wasn't here and he put this item on the agenda, but I forwarded information to the court and to the sheriff's office on this item because my office has helped with the grant piece of the project funding. And just to let you know, there is enough funding from the grant and the general fund contribution to keep the program going through the end of this fiscal year. The hit will be the next fiscal year.
How much is it?
106,000 will be the county's contribution.
Add that to the 4.1 million.
No. This is a grant. This is a grant, right?
It's only, the grant is very small right now.
Right, but it's a
fiscal year.
grant that we in-kind match. 35,000 grant, 100 and some thousand match.
In the current fiscal year, it's 30,000 grant and 86,000
Right,
general fund.
exactly.
Next year, that grant is going to go down.
They'll reduce it.
Yeah, the grant is going down, but it doesn't, we don't have to continue that program.
That's your choice.
That's
Okay,
right.
that's our choice.
That's correct.
Yeah.
These are some things that we have to look at.
That's correct.
To see if we wish to continue or not.
You got it. Thank you.
But for this physical
Commissioner
year, there's
Garza.
enough money there.
Yeah, there's enough money to keep going to the end of the year.
Seconded to table.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. God save this honorable court.